Welcome to the Tactical Devils. I'm your host, Jarvis Cocker. We have just witnessed Man United losing 2-0 against West Ham, and it could have been more. It was a poor performance for me. I think we felt really flat. It was pre-season-ish. I don't know what happened. Zirkzee scored the first goal, or maybe it was an own goal by Harry Ahmad, and and the second goal came, and then the game was over. We tried, we huffed and puffed, but we couldn't break down West Ham's extremely well-organized low block, and it didn't seem like Amarim had a plan how to beat them. So I'm not happy with the result. Yet another loss home at Old Trafford. At the end of after winning the Europa League semi-final, it looks like our player don't care anymore when it comes to the league. But anyway, I will be here and break down the game with you guys. Unfortunately, it will just be me. Stu had some things to do tonight, and I will do my best by myself. And we will be back after the intro. And get your comments in, smash the like, and subscribe if you are new. Yes, people, welcome to the Tactical Devils. I'm your host, Jarvis Cocker. I see a lot of people tuning in the house already. Andrew Collins is here, ghost face coming in and say, oh boy, guys, let's talk about today. And that's what I'm planning to do. Neil Driscoll coming in every time early. Big up, Neil. He say, hi, everyone. Done for this season. Had crap football. See you all next season. Bye for now. Yeah. I think we all feel the same. You know, we have the Europa League final, and that's it. Johnny K mode coming in and say BS game again. You know, I'm done with this team. I'm sorry, but maybe losing the final may be the best thing for us going long term. Can't scam your way into Champions League and be crap for 80% of the season. The players are a disgrace. And yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. I totally agree with you, Johnny K. It's a bullshit game again. And you know, this is too poor, and we have to do better than this. I don't know why Amarim can't motivate our players when it comes to the Premier League. It feels like they have turned off. They're not motivated to play. I think the worst thing of all, they're just trying to avoid injuries, and you could see it clearly today on Højlund. Barely touched his shoulder, and they lay down. You know, they are feeling, oh, I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to risk it final. And I think that's the mentality of the players right now. On the unfortunate side is Leny Yoro got injured, and I think that will be the main take of tonight. And if you look at this, this is from my friend John, Good John Vibes, coming in and shows a picture of Leny Yoro, and you see the loss was one thing, and losing Leny Yoro to injury is what killed me. I'm so devastated. I feel for him and for Rúben and for all of us, and I think we all do. It's really sad to see Leny Yoro out. One of our best centre backs. Today he played centrally in that three back line, but I don't know what to say. You know, I think we are unlucky sometimes. I really hope this is not a serious injury. And if you guys, some of you can do me a favor, go on X and try to see if you can find any updates on Leny Yoro's injury, and I will read it out here. So that's probably the worst thing that could happen. Leny Yoro getting injured, and I don't know what we should do about this. You know, we already have the licked out, most likely for the rest of the season. And now Leny Yoro, if he's out for the rest of the season, you know, it's not long until the Europa League final. we suddenly have to rely on Luke Shaw and Lindelöf, and I don't trust them. I don't trust Lindelöf, especially calamity brother, him and Luke Shaw. And who knows, maybe Luke Shaw gets injured again, and then we're back to the bare bone when it comes to centre backs. Let's see what players you guys are saying. Ghostface coming in and say, I feel so bad for Amarim. He just looks lost. Yeah. And Andrew Collins coming in and say the fact that the players are comfortably playing like that in front of Amarim is worrying for his future. Oh, and Jim Durrett reckons that it's worth a £66 ticket. Yeah, that's a good take. That's a good take, and I agree. Where's the respect for Amarim? Where's the respect for the shirt, for the badge, for the fans showing up, paying £66? And this is what you deliver? Preseason FC. Looks like it, So I agree with what you're saying, LB coming in and say this system doesn't work in the Premier League, especially when you don't have the players for it. Yes. Not yet, at least. I haven't seen enough to slate Amarim for his tactical astuteness, but when he gets his players, I know it will be difficult. Dave, no Premier League wins in 7, win only against bottom 3, Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton. No progress at all. Yeah. Jay is in the house. Big up, Jay. Good to see you, my friend. They say, hi, Jarvis, you legend. Sorry, I haven't been about much, but I'm up and down a lot. Regarding our season, it's just a preseason for Amarim. Our summer recruitment is vital, and I think that's a decent point. Yeah, but how are we going to progress? Next season isn't that far away. We are mid-May already, so beginning of August, everything kicks off, and we're back again. So just a couple of months. How are we going to switch on and start playing proper football? A couple of signings, maybe we get 5 players in, 6 players in. Will they change anything? I feel that this is a long rebuild, and I'm not sure if Amarim will get the time needed to fix this, because a lot of these players don't have the right attitude, I believe. Genghis Khan coming in and say Yoro looks bad. Yeah. And Mohamed Saki, why can't our team win league games? Yeah, that's the big question. Yeah, that's the big question. So let's just go into it. The tactical thing, tactical board. Let's see if I can do like this. You can guys see me. The tactical board we set up by entering goal, Luke Shaw on the left, Yoro centrally, and Masraoui on the right, wide centre back. We start up with a midfield pairing of Bruno and Ugarte. Bruno a little bit higher, Ugarte patrolling, being the side to side, and Bruno being the up and down midfielder, as we know Amarim likes with his pivot. Wing backs, Ahmad, Dorgu. Our number 10s was Mainu and Mason Mount. They changed side in the beginning of second half. Maybe they were trying something else, but it didn't work. And Højlund on top. What to say about Højlund today? I think he had a okay game. He should maybe have scored a goal. He had at least 2 big chances, but Højlund, I'm not expecting much. But I liked what I saw from him a couple of times. He was out when West Ham pushed higher up the pitch. And West Ham, what to say about them? For me, I felt they played like in a, let's say a 5-4-1 formation, and Soucek as the false 9, dropping in between Ward-Prowse and Rodriguez. So it was almost like a 5-5, 2 blocks of 5. And they were played really narrow as F. So they were really hard to break down. This was almost Mourinho-esque parking the bus football sometimes. And we couldn't quite understand how to break them down. The only time we created anything was when West Ham moved up the team, and there were some space in behind. We had our chances, but we didn't take them. I have some footage later, and you guys, and I can show you what I'm talking about. Because every time West Ham moved up a little bit higher, we had one chance, and that was playing over their press up to Højlund, and Højlund could keep the ball, lay it off to Bruno, lay it off to Ugarte, lay it off to Menu, or whoever was close by, and we could push the ball out to our wing backs or wingers, Mason Mount or Ahmad, for example, and it created a couple of chances. So this is what I like. But we know we can do this. We have been doing this for years after years, under Mourinho, under Ole, under Ten Hag, trying to hit it long, laying it back, and playing it out on the wings. Bruno to Rashford. We have all seen it 1 million times. And this is the only thing we got as a team. So for me, I feel that we need to do better. We need to be more creative. We need to be better on the ball. And a couple of elements when you play against a low block, a really low block, hard to break down. You have to have tempo on the ball, and you have to be precise, and you need dribblers, creative players, and the deep lying midfielders have to take deep runs through their compact zone of center backs to try to split them up and create some space, just tiny small spaces for us to attack and do something. So I felt that today we didn't do that. We are too static, we are flat, we have the ball tempo is not there. We put them under pressure a couple of times. So if I bring up the tactical board again, I feel that especially second half, we try to do something. We try to move up a wide center back a little bit higher just to put them on the siege. So let's say they defend like this. We have Ahmad and Dorgu wide. Try to stretch out the back five. Højlund in between the center backs. We play with Mount and Menu like this. So we have a five up top, and even Bruno roaming around in all these areas. So we have Ugarte, but what we did in the second half, we pushed our wide center backs even higher. So we created a couple of triangles, as you can see here, like this triangle here, try to isolate Wan-Bissaka, for example, and on the other side, we tried to do the same, but we didn't create much by doing this. So yeah, I don't know what to say. Oh, did I remove Wan-Bissaka now? Oh my God. Okay, new number 6. This is live, guys, so you have to bear with me. I want to take some comments and hear from you guys what you think about my tactical approach from the game. Let's see. Dave comes in and say no progress at all, and I only give 6 new players to a new manager. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if 6 guys will fix it. I think we need 11, 12 guys to fix this. So, and it will take time to implement it for Amarim. Genghis Khan comes. No, you're just talking to yourself. Let's see. Ghostface, my man of the match today were Bowen and Wan-Bissaka. I agree. I think Wan-Bissaka had a really good game, and Bowen, we know, I like Bowen. I've talked about Bowen for years now, and he's a player I rate really high, and I can't understand why we're not linked to him. Everything fits. He's a good dribbler. He's strong. He's Premier League proven. He's English. I think a lot of things point to to Bowen, but we've never been linked to him. So I don't know. Jordan Wall is in the house. Big up Jordan. Comes in and say hello, and hello Jordan. So 51 watching on X25 on Tactical Devils. I know it's a nothing game, but we have to break it down and do the job anyway. So I will see if I have any live footage we can go through, and give me 2 seconds. I don't have Stu here to keep you entertained in the intermissions, but I have to figure out a way to do this. Okay, so let me go to the live footage. Oh, cool. Nothing is uploaded yet on my computer. So, guys, we just have to wait a little bit before we go to the live footage. Yeah. So, I don't know. We moved up the wide center backs in the dying minutes of the game. So, let's just talk a little bit more about that. And we put them on the siege. We created a lot of a lot of set pieces, but I didn't feel we had big chances. We had the big chance with Harry Maguire on the corner kick header. But mostly, I think Kilman, Tadibo, and Cresswell defended the box really well. Especially Max Kilman, I think is a really good centre back. And Stu has talked about Kilman a lot of times. So I think he's also a Premier League proven good centre back. We maybe should look at, but he's not Champions League level, but he's at least better than what we got in some ways, when it comes to defending our box. We saw Harry Maguire coming on after Leny Yoro got injured. I was quite excited to see Leny Yoro in this central position today, and I think he found Bruno a lot of the times. When we talk about the pivot, when you see the triangle of Bruno, Ugarte, and Leny Yoro, I think they managed to find each other, especially Yoro to Bruno, and Bruno's ability to hit it long. He found Ahmad. He could find Mason Mount. He could find them with a long ball, a through ball, a creative key pass, as statisticians like to call it. But again, we couldn't do much. Bruno had a brilliant ball to, I think it was Højlund, who came one-on-one with Areola, but he couldn't hit the target. So again, yeah, it is what it is. I don't know what you guys are saying. Genghis Khan coming in and say Maguire has gone back to full clown mode again. No way we beat Spurs, especially if Yoro is out. Yeah, that's a worry. You can see Harry Maguire not being confident at all now. He especially when he's not, because Harry Maguire doesn't scan. As a centre back, you can stand in the back and watch in front of you. But when he's with his back, with his face against our goal, with the back against the opposition, he gets stressed out because he doesn't know what's over his shoulder, and that's a big problem with Harry Maguire, and he will never improve on this. I've seen this as a weakness of him for many years, and we could see it again now under pressure with this back against the opposition. He doesn't know where they are, where the pressure is coming from. So it's into full panic mode every time, and I would say it's almost like a 50-50 if we can get out of it alive or not. So it worries me. Seeing Harry Maguire like this. He's been really good this season, and I rate Harry Maguire, but he has his obvious weaknesses. And Genghis Khan coming in and actually just saying it was all shite jobs. They looked like they were drunk at times. Yeah, I feel also the focus was gone. This is a preseason game as I see it. And Ghostface saying, I'm like 99 certain that Ange is going from Spurs, even if they win Europa. But honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Amarim goes too. Yeah, that's the thing. People expect everything to change in preseason when we sign a couple of players, when we start going again. Who knows? Maybe we just continue this losing streak in the Premier League. After 10 games, maybe we have 2 wins, 3 draws, and 5 losses. And then the knives will be out for Amarim, and I don't see him lasting the season if he can't turn it around. And that's also a strength for a manager. You have to be able to turn it around if you are into bad spells like this. And we know we have Sam Allardyce, Tony Pulis, a lot of these second-rate managers. They actually are good in turning things around, can come in mid-season, save a team. So, it's a learning curve, and this is what you get when you have a young manager. I don't think Amarim ever been in this situation, and I think he's fumbling. He's fumbling his way out of it and trying his best. He chops and changes his lineups. He tries to do different things, turning the pivot into a staggered, like playing with a single pivot. And I don't know. Sometimes I think you just have to revert to the basics and do things simple. You can't and just coach yourself through it. Work hard every day. It's a mentality thing. When head drops, It doesn't matter if you play with a single or a double pivot. It's about motivating the players to do the right thing. And I'm not sure if Amarim is the right man to turn this around, right now. Not that I'm losing faith in Amarim, I'm just asking the questions. J United, yeah, thank you for reminding everybody we are 15 subs away from 700. Yeah, please, if you're new to the channel, smash the like, and subscribe, and be a part of the Tactical Devils. There's not many channels doing this, going with live footage right on the whistle, But I will bring up West Ham's first goal, and we can go through it, analyze it together. And if you see anything, if you have any comments, just let me know, and I will try my best to read them out. So here you see the first goal. West Ham is attacking on their left side. It's a one-touch pass here from Wan-Bissaka over to, I think it's is it Cresswell? Yeah, and everything is lagging. Sorry. Wan-Bissaka receives the ball again. Let's see if we can make this work. What's going on? And Wan-Bissaka, he cuts it back to Kudos. You see him here. I don't know why everything is not working, Give me 2 seconds. No, everything is lagging. Yeah. Let's just try. Let's just go through it. Wan-Bissaka cuts it back to Kudos. You see here Kudos making a run. I don't know what happened with the defense. You see here Masraoui being out in a position where he shouldn't. He gets dragged out because you see here Ahmad doesn't follow Wan-Bissaka. He just leaves the responsibility to Masraoui. And in this position, I think it's on the defensive work of Ahmad, and Masraoui is been forced to push out. And as soon as he pushes out, you see here Masraoui coming here. He leaves a pocket in behind, and you can see Kudos wanting the ball and going in that direction. So for me, this is on Ahmad, and Ahmad should follow Wan-Bissaka in this position. But it didn't happen, and this is the result. Wan-Bissaka finds Kudos in the pocket. Kudos have time to take the ball. 3 touches, 4 touches in our box, and gives it to Soucek in front of goal. But I didn't like Ahmad's performance right here too, because he sees the pass going and he cuts inside. If you look here, you see Ahmad go here, but he puts himself on his ass. He goes way down too easy and drops down. He tries to block the cross, but he should kept himself on the feet and keep pressure on Kudos. And I don't understand why Ahmad did this, because he's really quick. He has good balance. He's good on his feet. So why did he go down? And again, it's poor defending from Ahmad. Look at Ahmad coming into position because Kudos is allowed to use 3 touches, and then he tries to slide for some reason and gives Kudos the opportunity to find Soucek in the middle. And you see here, I think it goes by Harry Amos. Maybe it's an own goal officially, but it's Soucek's goal in my opinion, and they scored. So again, I would say poor defending from especially Ahmad. Danny B coming up, say big up crew, big up Danny B, good to see you. And J United come in and say it doesn't matter what manager we have, when we keep getting the same injuries with no quality or squad depth to cover for the Glazers still here, I honestly believe this is the Glazers. They are a curse. And 100% yes, they are. I agree. Crazy Eddie is in the house. Big up Crazy Eddie. He say, Jarvis, if you believe that Amarim can turn it around, if he's given his players, I'm quite disappointed in you. No, well, my honest opinion and assessment of Amarim is I think he has good tactics. I think he can do things. He's proven it in Sporting. But the thing is, he needs time, and I don't know if United is a club that will give the manager the amount of time he needs. So it could end really badly. It could really end badly. So that's just my take on it. You shouldn't be disappointed in me. I'm just trying to explain. And Crazy Eddie also comes in and say Glazers or not, this squad does not deserve to be 16th. 8th or 10th, I can agree. 16th, not what we have. Yeah. But sometimes you have to take a step back and be worse before you can get better. If you keep pushing, sometimes you have to take a step back to get a perspective over things. And I think maybe that's what we are doing now. And if we end the season by winning Europa League, it could end well. Danny B comes in when they come back to the situation. They say no communication again by keeper and defender. Lazy lack of concentration. Shaw is a disgrace, and we need to piss off and get a payout and leave. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that Luke Shaw is a waste, but I think we will do our best try to offload him in the summer if it's possible. But then he have to keep himself fit and actually prove that he can stay injury free more than 2 months. And that's the biggest issue. Jamie Wayne, big up, Jamie. Good to see you. And say, after we won our last league title, they decided they didn't care anymore. And 12 years on, we are still shite. Yeah, I know that we all are disappointed. I feel deflated, watching this Man United team. And, I would rather be outside in the sun having a beer and just relaxing, not thinking about Man United. But this is where we are at the moment. So, yeah. Well, we have to just look forward and hope that the Europa League final can salvage the season, and maybe next season thing will turn around. But I'm not depending on it. I think in May next year, I think we will all sit here and be disappointed. Another season wasted. Because I think it takes a lot of time. And I said it, that's why I was in defense of Erik ten Hag a long time, because I don't think it's the manager's fault. I think it's about time, and I think it's about us getting a proper rebuild and giving the manager maybe up to 4 to 5 seasons to actually turn this around. This 2-year cycle hasn't brought us anywhere since Ferguson retired. So it's just my take. They say try over and over again. The same thing is stupid, and I feel that we are doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So I mean, I don't know if you guys feel the same, but I think we just need to stick by Amarim now for at least 4 years and see where it brings us. I'm not into sacking managers all the time. I think it's about a really deep squad rebuild, as I mentioned, but that's just my thoughts on it. Yeah, I don't know what you guys felt about the goal. For me, I think it's on if it's on the defensive play of Ahmad, and maybe about communication. Maybe we need a real leader in the back. When we played with Leny Yoro, Luke Shaw, and Masraoui, this is what we get. It's not about their individual quality. We don't have anyone commanding a back line. If Harry Maguire was here, or if anyone else was there, Johnny Evans, as someone in the chat mentioned, he would probably have shouted to Ahmad, "Follow your man." But, they didn't. So we left a big pocket in for Kudus to run into, and panic mode happened, and Ahmad, he slide tackled and lost his man. So maybe it's a leader in the back. That's why I am a big advocate for getting a new goalkeeper next season also, because I don't see Bayinder or Onana as the solution. And we need someone who's actually can use his voice, shout to the players, and command his back line. And we haven't had that since maybe Van der Sar. I know this is why I really liked Peter Schmeichel. He was one of the best commanding his back line. So yeah, and I see people talking between yourself. We need at least 10 players, at least 10 or 10 and 8 and 10 out. Yeah. Jenkins comes in and say Ahmad isn't great defensively at wingback. Square pegs in round holes, and yeah, I think you're onto something. I don't know where Ahmad's best position is, and I think maybe his best position is a winger in a 4-2-3-1. Unfortunately, we play 3-4-3, and I don't see him at his best in the number 10, and I don't see him at his best in the wing back. So maybe he's in the wrong team. Maybe we'll see in the future Ahmad leaving and going to another club playing his style of football. But he's a massive talent. I love Ahmad. I think he's one of the if not the best ball player we have in this team. So we need to work on this. And I don't know what to say. I don't know if you remember after last game, I talked a little bit about the pivot when we played with Kobe Mainu and Ugarte in the pivot. I felt we lacked the ability to play it long, play through balls, play over the defensive line of the opposition. And here you see us getting on the ball, and you have Bruno, because when Bruno plays deeper, you get this. You see here Bruno on the ball, and he can hit it long. We didn't have that last game because we had Ugarte and Mainu. So we lacked the penetration. And when you see the ball going here from Bruno, shifting play, over to Højlund. But Højlund, he missed the goal completely. It's not the best footage. Højlund comes in really late. But if you see here, if you ever played football yourself, getting the ball over your head and in front of you, your reaction time is really short. And it's a difficult thing to actually do something with the ball. So in a way, I'm not blaming Højlund too much on this. He managed to hit the ball, and, if he have hit goal, it probably would have been a goal. So, and it would have been a wonderful goal. So it's not easy from Højlund, and this is not me slating him by no means. I think it's a difficult finish, but it was a good one, and this is what I would like to see more of: hitting it long, direct from Bruno, being precise in these moments. So I think we lacked it. So I liked the setup, the starting 11 from Amarim, and I was excited to see Leny Yoro, to see Bruno, and actually getting the connection, and we could see more passes from Bruno over the back four. So again, here you see Leny Yoro on the ball, giving it to Bruno, and Bruno actually doing something with it. So we need more of that going forward. Let's see who is in the house. Crazy Eddie coming in again and say, if this team is a relegation fodder, what's the point of going to Champions League next year? Yeah. If anyone can answer me that, because I don't know the answer. If we qualify through Europa League, in a way we deserve to be in the Champions League. We are the reigning champions of the second tier European tournament, and you get the chance to play in the Champions League. But I understand where you're getting at, Eddie. It's about our level, and we are not good enough to play in the Champions League. But with the new setup with 8 games in the group stage, we might have a chance. We might have a chance to go through, but I don't expect us to go really deep. But last 16, maybe last 8, if you're lucky. And it's a lot about experience and money. These players are used to playing in Europa League. They need to learn this, and we have a lot of young players. So I'll take it, by all means, if we qualify to the Champions League, and I think it will be a useful learning curve for us. But yeah, we will probably make a fool out of ourselves. We will lose games. I don't know if I see this team going up against Real Madrid, Paris, or other big teams, Barcelona. It could get ugly, but you know everything can happen. And by one, I don't know Amarim, but we have been successful in Europe this season. But maybe it's the level of the teams. But I feel that the players are sharper when we go against European opposition. So it might not be a full on embarrassment if we go to Champions League next season, but we will see. It's a good question. Barman comes in and say, "Hi Jarvis, good to see you, Barman. I'm glad you're in the house. A lot of you legends are here. Jamie Wayne, Danny B, Genghis, Barman, Yalim Almin is here. Good to see you. And if you haven't smashed the like, I'm by myself today. Stu Wally couldn't join us. I don't know. Are any of you interested in jumping on? Being my sidekick, trying to analyze some footage. If any of you wanna jump on, you can leave your camera off, but you have to have a good mic and some experience would be nice. But I will be here and try to help you out. So if any of you are interested, give me a thumbs up in the live chat, and I will share the link. By the way, I got some because I send out some last minute invites to a lot of people because Stu canceled really late. It's one of those. I'm not blaming Stu by all means. Let's see. Oh, okay. I just got a reply from Mark. He couldn't join us either. So Mark couldn't, Stu couldn't, Bombaye couldn't, Nordin couldn't, Mick couldn't. So yeah, if any of you want to feel joining the show, feel free to tell me and I will send you the link. Let's go to the next footage. Let's see what I have here. There weren't much in this game, so there's not much to analyze. I have something here. It's yes, it's this situation. Let's go to this. Big up Kenny. Big up Kenny. Kenny, if you want to join me, just let me know and I'll send you the link. I think it's is it Bruno? Yeah, I think it's Bruno. No, it's Mason Mount shifting play from one side to the other. And here you see where we would like Ahmad to be, not defensively in his own box. He's a calamity when it comes to this. But now he's up 1-against-1 against the best 1-against-1 defender in the world, Wan-Bissaka. But I think Ahmad did really well in this position. If I slow it down, we can have a look how he takes him on, making it difficult for Wan-Bissaka. Doesn't know if we're going right or left. Make a little feint, step over, and then suddenly shifting to his left and cutting inside, getting the shot off, and actually going past the best 1-on-1 defender in the world, Wan-Bissaka. He gets off a shot, and it's a good save from Areola. But I like what I see. This was what I was talking about, breaking down a low block. If you see how many men West Ham commit in their own box, you have a back four, and you have a front four, and you have the two counter-attacking players right outside the box. So it's really hard to break them down. So we need to rely on brilliant, on individual brilliance, and that's what we lack, people who have the skills like Ahmad, dribblers. We don't have many dribblers in this team. So again, it's a good one-on-one attack from Ahmad. You can look at it again, cuts in and take the shot. And we actually committed. I see Højlund here in a good position. We have, I think it's Mason Mount. We have Kobe Mainu. So we are committing a lot of men too. But, if you see how many men West Ham commit in their box, you understand why it was difficult for us to break them down. So, yeah. Let's see here. We have some comments. Let's go to the Kenny coming in and say, I feel sorry for Amarim at this point. Jarvis, these players need to be sold. Yeah, a lot of them needs to go. I agree. Crazy Eddie coming in and big up Crazy. He say, I'm not even concerned about being embarrassed at the Champions League. Can't get any more embarrassing than 16th. This is just that we'll stretch ourselves again and have more excuses for being bottom of the table. Yeah, I think Nuruddin, United Real Therapy talks about this all the time. About he just wants us to focus on the league and build a squad one game a week and have more time on the training pitch. So, you know, I understand where you're coming from, and you make a good point. But it's also, it's a double-edged sword, and when it comes to experience, when we need the money, and I think it's all about prestige for a lot of these players, and especially when it comes to us signing players in the summer. I think we need Champions League if you want to get players in the level of Jokenes, and we've been linked to so many great names, but we know when we sign them. Everything we know is that Cunha is probably coming in, and Cunha, he also need experience in the Champions League. He's played for Wolves, so. And in Spain, I don't know where he came. Some Spanish club, maybe Real Sociedad or something, and they didn't play in the Champions League either. So we need the experience. But I get your point, Eddie. I'm not ignorant to what you're saying. So yeah. Baumann comes in and say, Amarim say we need to change a lot of things this summer, especially mentally and culture in the team. We have to be brave in the summer, and we cannot do this next season. It's not a place. It's not the place for me. Yeah, I agree, Baumann. And Kenny comes in and say, next season we shouldn't be losing 17 losses. Ineos literally wrote this season off. Yeah, I think we all feel the same, and Cengiz sums it up and say, reality is, Jarvis, no way we can build a squad in one window to compete in the Champions League. We'll end up in a relegation battle. Yeah. Yeah, that's a concern. That's a concern. But I feel also, okay, we are in, I don't know, we sit 16th in the league or something. I think we're better than that. I think we proved it in certain spells through the season. We've been a little bit unlucky. I'm not making up excuses, but I it's also difficult if you're a player. You come from Ten Hag's rigid system, and now suddenly Amarim comes in, and it's maybe it's tough for the players to get the grip, to understand. And we've seen it. Stu and I have been sitting here analyzing, for example, Højlund and the movement. You have to be able to drop down, you have to be able to link play, but you also have to be able to be inside the box, and you have to be able to know when to do diagonal runs, to run the channel, zone 16, zone 18, hold up the ball. And all of this, it's a lot of information, and have to be honest, some of these players aren't the brightest. We know this when it comes to Man United. So maybe it's too much information to take in at once. And the only thing that we can rely on is time. Give them a little bit of time to turn things around. But yeah, it is what it is. Let's do the next footage. I will see if I have anything interesting, because I do a lot of small clips, but not everything is so interesting with me, and not without Stu. Yeah, this one. From a tactical point of view, I talked a little bit about when West Ham pressed higher. Let's go back to the tactical board and add it to stage. So you see here, okay, I have to move up. So when West Ham were pushing high with all of the team, oh, what happened there? Higher, and higher. Yes, you see. Now we're talking. There were a chance for us to play the ball from Bayindir over the press for Højlund to drop down. And then Højlund needed to be clinical, managing to hold up the ball and lay it off to either Ugarte, Bruno, or any other player close by. And we would play the ball out to the wings. And this is how you attack, because you have to be crucial and you have to be sharp in moments, because West Ham was sitting in a low block, but sometimes when they pushed up the team, we had a chance. You see, especially Liverpool, really good in doing this. On the Klopp, being really clinical, playing rock and roll football, direct football when needed. And we did it a couple of times this game. This is from the first half. You see West Ham committing more men high up the pitch, and the ball goes over the top from Bayindir. And in this instance, you actually see here Højlund under pressure. I think it's from Kilman, being able to lay the ball off to Kobe Mainoo and create something. So you see, this is what I would like to see more of in certain situations. And you see Kobe Mainoo on the ball, lays it off to Bruno, and suddenly we have a deep lying player in the pivot who can hit it over the press and understand how to play a long direct ball. Place the ball over to Mason Mount, but in this instance, Mason Mount has to take the chance, because West Ham, we know they like to play with 2 blocks of 4 defending and maybe 2 blocks of 4 and 5. So you see here 1, 2, 3, 4 West Ham play, and probably a 5th over here tracking back. And the same with the back line. So when we have the chance, suddenly there's room in behind West Ham's back line. So Mason Mount needs to take his first touch and attack this zone straight away, because this is our chance. But we are too dilly-dallying on the ball. And when you see here Mason Mount taking the ball down and taking 3-4 touches, and now it's too late. You see the box is already filling up with West Ham defenders, and it ends up in basically nothing. But we had our chance, and what I'm talking about, the link, playing it over, Højlund taking it down, laying it off to one of the midfielders, Bruno hitting it to our wingers. So this was our tactic today when we had the chance, when West Ham moved a little bit higher. But we struggled. And again, when it comes to clinicality in situations like this is what we see. Big up, Bad Time. Big up. If you want to come on and analyze the game with me, Bad Time, please do. I'm by myself. Stu is not here. Let me know in the chat and I'll send you the link right away. Or even Rich. I see you, Rich, are here. So if you want to come on and help me break down the game, I would love to have a sidekick when it comes to this show. I need some breaks. I have my tea here, but it's already cold. Guys, I'm here drinking tea, thinking and talking a little bit with Stu. He's the guy always talking, so you know the drill. Yeah. So let's see if we. I have another footage of a similar situation. How we played over the press when and if West Ham came a little bit higher on the pitch. Rich coming in say that I think the game broke me down. Yeah, I know. We can sit here and piss and moan and complain, but I'm here to analyze football as best as I can and tell you what I saw, the positives and the negatives from a footballing point of view. Yeah, cool, Kenny. And if any of you else want to join me, I put the link in the. Feel free to jump on. So the link is in the chat. But don't come in naked. I won't have it. So it's the next footage. It's Bayindir. No, this time it's Masraoui on the ball. You see here West Ham high the pitch. A lot of men committing the press. And this was one of the moments when we had our chance. So the ball comes from Masraoui, hitting it long to Højlund, dropping down. And you see here, actually, Højlund is doing a really good job wrestling with the defender. And he wins the ball and lays it off. Let's see. He wins the ball and give it to Ahmad. And now this is the chance when Ahmad again comes one against Wan-Bissaka. And And even now, you see Højlund's movement as a striker. I would probably prefer him to continue his run, put pressure on West Ham, and put them. So most likely would have Højlund a little bit deep, higher up the pitch, and you can see Højlund is just ball watching it at this moment. But he probably knows that he will have time because Ahmad will take his time on the ball. So you see here again, Ahmad 1-against-1, doing the same thing, cutting inside, trying to find Højlund. Højlund receives the ball, and I don't know what Højlund is doing here, taking a shot with his back against the goal, but at least he takes a shot, and we created a chance. But it all comes down to one thing, and it's about West Ham is higher up the pitch. But you see in this instance already, this is why West Ham is so good. They committed really hard defensive working. When they were high up the pitch, they tracked back in numbers, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players defending that, 9 if you count the goalkeepers. So again, that's one of the things. We have Kenny in the house. Big up, Kenny.
Welcome big up, Jarvis. It's been a while, and yeah. So far, I actually loved your setup for this channel and all, and
Thank
you know what, you're almost close to 1,000 subscribers. So shout out to you. And yeah, I'll be honest, man. I almost fell asleep in the first half. I mean, we barely created any, like, actually the only moment that came was from Ahmad, where he basically he cut in from he kind from the right hand side. He basically he took a shot. The keeper saved it, and I mean there was no urgency in this game, and we only started showing like urgency after when we were 2-0 down. I mean, I like this was why Rúben Amorim was so right about this team. This is the worst Man United team in 40 years, and he has been proved right. And you know what, right? The only thing I'd blame Amorim, it was him starting Leny Yoro in this game, because he basically started he started Yoro against Bilbao in the second, like played the whole 90 minutes of the game. And I just think, like, personally for me, yeah. And now I just heard Leny Yoro is injured, but I just hope it's not serious.
I don't know if you read anything on X, if you know anything that's out there on the ether, what kind of injury we are talking about. I think was it an ankle injury again? Because we know it was like a semi-torn ankle ligament. That was his last injury, I believe, if I'm not wrong. And the worst thing with injuries like that, if the same injury comes again, it's probably because the ligament is a little bit weakened after the first stretch. It's semi-torn, and it grows together, and it weakens in other places. But when it grows, so it takes a lot of time for it to heal. So if it's another injury, the ligament probably snaps, and you're out for more than the second time. So for me, the biggest problem,
it could be like 7 months or 8 months as well. That's so
but
true.
it didn't look that serious, but we don't know when it comes to this.
Thank you.
So
Yale, thank you for the update. A shout out to you, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, right. Okay. Really? Yeah. He could walk. Okay. Cool. He's not in a casket. So at least there's some good news. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what I've seen this whole game was like the players were fully, they actually want to reserve themselves for the final. And this game truly kind of upsetted me a bit, because you need to get a little bit of like a momentum in terms of like the performances, in terms of wins. You got to start winning games before the cup final. Was it on 21st of is it on 21st May? We should be winning games, because remember momentum. Because yeah, it's literally all about momentum. Because remember last season we won 4 or 5 games in a row with Ten Hag. Even like some of them, they were done with Ten Hag. We won 5 games in a row, and then we basically ended up winning the FA Cup, in which some of us knew like we were going to win the FA Cup. So like I'm like it's the manner how we lost this game. I was really upset. It was not good enough on my books, and I'm sorry, it's Europa League or bust this season for me.
Yeah.
Because if we play like this against Bilbao, because the first 60 minutes I didn't like the performance. Yes, I understand. Like Amarim set us up uh like a 5-4-1 sort of formation, because like
Yeah, it was all
we were
about
playing
defending the
counter-attack.
lead, and I don't think
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
from a tactical point of view. It was from a mental point of view. I think the players were
I I
cautious.
I
They didn't want to lose the
I I
ball. They
I,
didn't. Yeah,
I agree with like Genghis Khan Jr. Man. He knows that even when we win the Europa, I'm not saying it because I know we are going to win it. He said
yeah.
even if we win even when we win the Europa League this season, I'm not truly going to accept. I'm not truly going to accept this Premier League campaign.
No. Big up, Rich. Good to see you. I'm glad you had the
Hey,
time to
big
jump
up,
on.
Rich.
Big up.
Yeah, I
So
can join
do you have any
you a little bit.
updates
I just wanted
on
to.
Leny Yoro's injury? I know you're always up to date when it comes to all of this.
No, I streamed as soon as the match finished, and yeah, no, I just hope it's something that he can actually play the Europa League final. Because I think he's been one of the players I've enjoyed watching this season. There's not many highlights this season. I think Yoro for me is one of them. I think he's the best signing we made in the summer. I was just going to
Yeah,
ask a general point. Do you think
Yeah.
like this excuse about all the eggs in the Europa League basket, and I know the FA Cup last season, we didn't check out of the season that early last year. Like we did tail off really badly, but this season, last 10 games, I'm struggling to remember a win, and it's the worst season I can ever remember from start to finish. Like we didn't start the season well. We haven't really had any sort of run, like a few games in a row where we've won games
yeah,
in
a
the
few
Premier
games in
League.
a row. Yeah, that's
It's
yeah.
there's been no sort of momentum this season, and I know people say, right, he needs his players, he needs this, but our squad should not be 16th, 17th in the league, regardless of
No.
Europa League demands. There's no way we should. I'm looking at the lineup today, thinking, like, okay, I'd arrested Mazraoui
It's
because he
still
plays almost
it's
every
still a
game.
strong 11 as well.
How can
Yeah,
we?
yeah. Maybe you should have rested. Yeah, I forgot about him. He should have rested as well. To be honest.
Do you think there's a free pass for him, Jarvis? I know you're looking. There are some positives, like we're not conceding 20 plus shots every game, but we're still losing games. We're creating less shots, that we're actually scoring fewer goals than I can ever remember in the league. And it's just, I think the football is also, I know you can analyze it and there's positives and things, but it's quite negative watching most of the match where we're not pressurizing a team at Old Trafford. I used to watch Manchester United dominate a game and almost like just bully a team until they gave in. Now I'm watching it
Yeah,
and thinking, are we going to overpass them until they lose interest? But we don't. We really don't create much.
No. I think you're talking about one of the vital things. Our strength as a team is not there anymore. I think we have lost the edge we always had because we were used to have the best players, but we're not anymore. Crazy Eddie comes in and say, Jarvis, I think you meant to say cast, not casket.
I
Yes,
think
I
cast.
believe you
Yeah,
are
cast is
right.
a right
Sorry,
word. Yeah,
I'm
cast
a
is a right word
Norwegian,
to
so
mention.
sometimes my English is
That's
not up
fine.
to date when it
That's
comes
fine.
to all of
That's
this.
absolutely.
And Yala Malmin comes in with a little update. I believe Yoro injury could be a small thing. He was able to walk on his leg, but he won't know anything until maybe tomorrow. So we will know in time. Tomorrow night, I will do Jarvis's Corner about 9 p.m. UK. So I will probably
Yeah.
have more on this, and Rich is probably going live around same time. I don't know when you go live, 8:30 or 9:30 or around
Probably
that.
like
So if
8,
you want,
8:30
tune in
is normal.
to Rich's channel and get the latest updates on All United. So Raymond P is coming in. Big up Raymond. Is a forwards abhorrent, disrespectful, amateurish, and unprofessional.
I agree
Yeah,
with this game today.
yeah.
Absolutely.
On this game, I think we are at that level. But as a player, let's say you played like 30. How many games left? 34 games this season. The season is not looking good. You
I
going in
think I, I
again in the
think
Premier League.
I think we have 3 more games left. So I think we
Yeah.
have 3 more.
So how do you motivate yourself? You're playing for the badge. You're playing for the fans. You're playing for your pride, but it doesn't seem
For
like.
some players, they should be playing to play in the Europa League final. Like Mason Mount has got to be trying to push for a start because his finishes in midweek were exceptional, and I think he showed touches of the player we hoped we'd get. Ahmad, I don't mind seeing him start, but he's got to be pushing as well to try and be a starting player if Manchester United get upgrades in the summer. I don't know. It's just there's somewhere you just wonder if they checked out. Like I would if Casemiro or players linked away from the team kind of check out, you can understand it, can't you? But a lot of other players, they should be getting towards a stage now where the Chelsea game, you can imagine massive changes, like an almost reserve team because we're playing the Europa League final a few days after.
But it's a
But this felt
must-win
like
for
the last game
Chelsea.
of the season. Yeah, this game of the season, we should be getting the win. And Chelsea are going to be fighting for Champions League football. So I don't see us getting much out of that game. So this felt like the game to win in terms of like the last few games of the season. And also a game for an opportunity for some players to maybe try and fight for a starting position. Because there might be a few players that are not guaranteed to start in the Europa League final and they might want to. So I don't know. It just feels a bit like the season is just gradually, for the last 10 games, it feels like we're heading towards one game against Spurs and the rest of the games seem irrelevant. They shouldn't be. It's not acceptable, but that's what it looks like. As a fan, I want to see more, but I just, like, week in, week out, I know I'm not going to see any more. And I know against Chelsea, we're going to be bad. Against Aston Villa, I've no idea what to expect. It might depend on what Villa do, to be honest.
I'm not bothered. I only care about Europa final, at this point of time.
I see we have a question coming in from bath time, but before we go to that question, I will address that question bath time in 2 minutes time. I wanna just show you this because this is Comedy Club FC.
Yeah, I have to go, guys. Yeah, I gotta go, people. Yeah, take care of yourself. Yeah?
Okay. I appreciate you coming on, Kenny. Thank you. Okay, so it's just Rich and me, but I don't know how long you can stay, Rich, but
probably a few minutes. I was going to head out. I saw you alive, and
yeah,
Stu's obviously had a better offer today, and I thought I'll come and speak to Jarvis and say, like,
yeah.
I've just been moaning about Manchester United myself, so I just thought I know the game's not that important, but I'm more concerned about like the future because there's a lot riding on Rúben Amorim's project and the potential if he gets his players. I just want to see more to convince me that it's right to. I don't ever think you should 100% buy players purely for one manager. And I think that Manchester United should be looking to build a squad that if Rúben Amorim moves on in a year's time or later, depending on how it works, we should be in a good position. We shouldn't have another manager come in, say, in 6 months, 18 months' time, and have the same conversation where we go, right, he needs his players. That's not like Chelsea don't have that. A manager only gets about 18 months at Chelsea, and we shouldn't have this sort of problem.
No.
Sorry if I'm just moaning a lot today, Jarvis. It's been one of those days.
Well, I'm not the one who like to sit and piss and moan. I like to think positively and just look at the game of football and try to analyze whatever happened in the game. And we all know that there was no urgency and it felt like a preseason game. But for me, I will still sit here and try to analyze what happened in the game. And this footage is about Comedy Club FC and you see poor defending here for Amas. Leny Yoro throwing himself into the tackle. Look at Luke Shaw here sliding himself on his ass. He can't turn around. So, when we defend like this, it will be tough. And this is not to analyze football. This is just to point out how poor we really are in certain situations. No composure, put under pressure. Look at Luke Shaw here. Jesus Christ. Sorry for the profanities. Do you have anything to add, Rich?
I'm just looking at that. I think the first thing is like there's panic, but also there's quite a few players in dangerous positions early on that could have easily resulted in a much worse situation. But I don't know. I think from what I've seen with Luke Shaw the last few days, I know about his injury issues, but United need to be really looking at a lot of these players, moving them on pretty quickly if they can.
Yeah, especially Luke Shaw. I'm not sure what to say about Luke Shaw. Well, Bathheim is joining us. Big up, Bathheim. Good to see you.
Hello?
Hello.
Am I here?
Hello. Yes, you are live on Tactical
Hello.
Devils. Welcome to the club. How do you feel, my friend?
I feel pretty tired, so I fell asleep in the second half. All right, Rich, how you doing, mate? You're all right. Yeah, really, really disappointed with what I'm seeing, Jarvis. I understand everyone's extremely excited about the Europa Cup final. And position in the league is of far more interest to me than the final at the moment, because I really, really wanted to see us build momentum and demonstrate that the players we've got and the system we have are viable in this league. And from what I saw today in the first 45 minutes, I'm very, very concerned about a few things. I don't think that Ahmad is suitable at right wing back from the performances he's put out in the last two games. Ugarte has never really been a particular favourite of mine, but he's done all right recently. He's shown like a willingness to kind of improve and work on his game. But today he made what I consider to be one of the most basic mistakes, like the most simple and basic error a midfielder can make is not tracking a runner from deep. And I don't know, I've never played in a three-man, I've only ever played three-man midfield, sorry. I don't really understand like how a two-man midfield works, but when that guy runs into the channel on our goal, I don't understand why Ugarte isn't following him. And when we saw,
are you talking on the second goal?
First goal.
Okay, yeah.
Have you got it?
Yeah. We looked at it, but for me, I feel that it was more on Ahmad. But if you talk about Ugarte, let's analyze it again. I have so much to do right before an error occurred. Let's see if I can.
I love this bit. It's like Minority Report, isn't it? Like all the stuff up.
Okay, everything is buffering at the moment. So but what was the thing about Ugarte you wanted us to have a look at?
He doesn't track his runner properly. It's like it's really like it's just criminal that, as I think like Rich earlier was referring to, like just like will loads of aimless passing about break a team down. And a lot of Amarim's system appears to be based on this, on like just taking up positions and things. And I feel that Ahmad's not crossing, and right, Ugarte here is a prime example of he doesn't have the agency.
This is Ugarte right here. I think he's tracking Kudos, but I think he lets him go at one point in this clip. So here we go. This is the main footage from the goal. You see here Wan-Bissaka. Where is Ugarte now? Is this Ugarte? Yeah.
Yeah, Maz has just passed Kudos on to Ugarte. Lovely double up on Aaron Wan-Bissaka there.
Yeah. I don't know, but I felt in this instant that maybe Ahmad should have just taken the responsibility and followed Wan-Bissaka, but he starts jogging because they are no threat in this area, and there's also a defender right here. So I think he should have felt in this area, this moment, that the responsibility to track Wan-Bissaka should be on. But okay,
absolutely. Because right, so here, Jarvis, like if you look at Mazraoui, like Mazraoui's not doing anything. He's not doing anything too badly from my point of view.
Yeah, but he's putting out the fire. That's the thing. The fire from Ahmad leaves behind.
Yeah,
and
no,
he needs to vacate his back line.
Exactly.
And open the space.
This is the point, right? Is that when you look at his body and things like that, he should be a little bit more to our right, but he's got to come out, and he can't do that because there's no support there. So it's Ahmad, and don't actually know who the guy behind Ahmad is in the shade. They need to be much, much further across, because what we have is like the channel is the space in between the left back and the centre back, and here you can see that it's too big. Like Yoro is, if you look at him, he's got a perfect body shape as well, because they're sort of defending the ball. The only guy there who looks really, really bad in that sort of back line is Ugarte. He's on his heels. And he knows, he can see the situation in front of him. He knows that pressure needs to be put on the ball here. It doesn't matter who it is in the Premier League. You need to put pressure on the ball or you're going to get killed. So what should he be allowing his man to do? And look at that. He doesn't go. He doesn't follow the runner across in Kudos. That should be like, Ugarte should know that he's got to cover that man to allow Mazraoui to come out, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, because the starting position is right here, and when he sees his centre-back moving out of this pocket, he should be aware of it and drop in, try to fill that pocket right away. But also, I think you see Ahmad here trying to fill that pocket, and I don't know why he sits on his ass right away. He's brilliant keeping himself on his feet. He has great balance. He's quick, so he should have just stayed on his feet to try to block the cross and follow Kudos all the way down to the line. So
it's shocking.
Look at this, how easy he goes down. And Kudos doesn't do anything. He doesn't do a feint. He doesn't do a dribble. Nothing. He just carries the ball.
That is genuinely some of the most embarrassing defensive play you will see in the Premier League, because Ahmad looks like Jackie Chan in Rush Hour, where he's fighting in an armchair and he just like does a weird kick out of nowhere. I've never seen like any defensive animation like that before in my life. It's crazy. And if you think back to the game last week, the amount of problems that Ahmad caused us by like not even like misunderstanding defensive situation, his complete inability to operate in them, like that meme of a penguin in like Arkansas or something. Like it's Ahmad. He's a lovely chap and he's a wonderful football player, but you can't trust him in these defensive situations at all. And I personally think that we've basically seen today that we need a new like wing back, and we're not having a lot of luck with them at the moment. Like Dorgu he's a bit of a worry. Like everyone hates Delo, but at least he's got some numbers. And Amas, in my opinion, does not look ready for the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah. But if you look at our setup in front of goal, I think we are decent. We are tight. We are marking their plays tight. Maybe we should be more, I don't know, maybe a little bit deeper so we're not behind them. We're hiding a little bit when we mark them. But this is not where the goal comes from. It comes from maybe Ugarte, maybe Ahmad. Maybe we should just partly blame both of them.
It's a combination, isn't it? 'Cause I think you're right. When I look at that setup across the goal of like how to defend a cup, by and large, it's perfectly fine in terms of the zones that are being covered. The issue is it's about individuals here, because Harry Amas is too young and too weak and too green really to deal with someone like Souček. This is one of the problems where you play these positional systems, is that a lot of it comes down to like sort of one-on-ones in these areas. And for me, like Amas and Ahmad, like most young players, really good in attack when they're out in wide areas. Where you find out what level they're at is when they're defending in central areas. And today it's kind of told me that these two aren't ready for this kind of responsibility.
I want to get Rich's point on this. I just want to read out two comments and add one thing. You said Genghis Khan comes in and say very poor defending, even for a winger, and he didn't even help Frederiksen last game either. And Danny B agrees with you 100% bad time when it comes to this. But I just want to point out, if you look at this, the ball comes over from Wan-Bissaka here, and Ahmad is the one tracking. I don't know if it's Cresswell or the widest. Number 3, it's Cresswell, and the ball goes back to Wan-Bissaka. But look at Kobe Mainoo here. It's actually Ahmad who's covering up the deepest part. So maybe it should have been, we should expect more from Kobe Mainoo. He just zones out and do nothing. So maybe he should have moved up a little bit higher and applied pressure to Wan-Bissaka, but he's not. He's just standing there, and it's actually Ahmad who's applying pressure. So in a way, maybe we should talk a little bit about Kobe Mainoo's work and role into this. He just stops and walks.
Doesn't even move, does he?
No. I don't know. What's your take, Rich?
I think that's disappointing, like Mainoo. I think when people are talking, like Bafton was saying, Harry and Mass, a lot of people get excited that we got options. But if none of the options are actually good enough, then I think we need to be looking at, we definitely need to get right wing back or left wing back in the summer. But regarding Dorgu, I don't think Dorgu should be a natural a starter for Manchester United at this point, but more as a backup. So we need to buy somebody that is more experienced, 100%. I know people get excited, and but Dorgu for me, I'm not going to criticize him at the moment. I just don't think we've seen enough, and I think sometimes if he's played mostly as a left back in a different league against different quality opposition, I think we're going to be quite critical of him trying to actually do well in the system that Amarim's trying to implement. So I think we might see better from him next season, but he shouldn't be a starter week in, week out either. Harry and Mass, I think it's good to see him get an opportunity, but again, he should be someone that if he's in the first team a lot next season, it just shows our squad depth isn't there. I think what's worrying about this clip is you can pretty much pick out 4 players, couldn't you, and criticize them. There's a lot of people doing things wrong. It's like no one taking responsibility, and the other player's not anticipating where the danger is. Like when you pause the clip the first time, you can see this massive amount of space, can't you? And you're just thinking, I was just thinking as like a more attack-minded player, and I've been more as a left winger. I was thinking there's loads of space there. If you put it in there, the striker can run into it, cause all sorts of problems. And there's 4 Manchester United players, and not one of them's actually occupying that space either. They're almost like just making Mazraoui push out and make the space worse. So it's disappointing. I mean, I'm more frustrated we can't create any goals, but if we can't score many goals, we've got to do the basics right defensively, and we made it easy for West Ham there.
Yeah. I don't know. That time, do you want to say anything about Mainoo's involvement into this?
I find it quite difficult, Jarvis, to understand what this system is. But if you take it back to the sort of start of where Kobe is and things,
It's Kobe, yeah,
that's absolutely perfect, right? So when you're a midfielder and you're doubling up, what you are basically doing is you're stopping a pass inside, like you're keeping the pitch narrow. So this is okay here because like Ugarte is the one that is picking up Kudos between the lines. He's basically stopping the ref. He puts decent amount of pressure on the ball. Now he's going to track. Now he's going to track the channel runner. Like Kobe is very, very good at this. He sticks with his man, so he goes with him. But here, this is, I think, a little bit about experience and relationships between players, because if Ahmad then goes out to Wan-Bissaka, Kobe has to stay there to watch that left back. And this is basically what he does. But I wouldn't say he does anything particularly wrong. My big problem is that you can see he's scanned here and he's looked across. Kobe knows there's a problem. And Kobe knows that problem is I think it's Kudos next to Ugarte. And he's transfixed on him. And here, maybe you'd need Stu for this. I'm a midfielder, not a defender. But I think that like everyone's got there's enough men to be aggressive here on the ball and drive it back. And this is my problem. But Kobe is stuck between pillar and post because he can see there's a problem, but he has to be mindful of Cresswell on the outside. Personally, I think the danger should always be protected inside. right? I think, you've got to allow space. And I think that Kobe should be moving up diagonally here to compact the center.
But most likely, in a lot of these situations, the ball often go back and out again.
Yeah.
So, I'm not. I think you make a good point when it comes to Mainu and just keeping his position in a way. But I feel, as you said, it's a communication problem and an experience between Ahmad and Kobe Mainu, who should apply pressure on Wan-Bissaka in this moment. Maybe it should have been Kobe Mainu, and we should have been a little bit quicker, understanding the danger in the situation. But we are nitpicking here, and it's not the biggest mistake of them all. The biggest mistake is here, and as you said, Ugarte not covering this space. Masraoui is leaving behind. So
I think how Yoro adapts to this situation, though.
Okay.
If you watch him, he actually takes agency here. Because if you look how we're all positioned, obviously we've created a channel on the left, but we've covered all our zones in the box. They have to go right the way to the back post to kind of get an opportunity. This all looks to me okay, not perfect, but okay. And as this ball gets played through to their channel runner, it's just slipped off Ugarte. If you watch Yoro, he straight away shows desire and urgency to get into an area to sort of stop the cross. He doesn't care what everyone else is doing. He's going to the ball and applying pressure to it, and the rest of them have got to recover. And unfortunately, a mass is already if you just take it back 2 or 3 frames. And now just watch a mass. Look, do you see the arm up, the pushing 100%. Away? This is why I say that he isn't ready for the Premier League, because he's being dog walked here. This is a man against a child, and
he easily gets pushed off and behind the attacker, and you should never let Souček get in that position. He should fight tooth and nail.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, I saw earlier in the season, I think it was against Bournemouth, Zirkzee let this happen to him on a set piece where a man just put arms on him and he wasn't pushing him away, and then Dejan Huijsen scored from the resulting corner because he generated the space. Here, Amass, he's the guy hasn't played senior men's football. This is like his 3rd or 4th go at it. And he's up against Souček, who is a powerful, strong international player. And unfortunately, I'm of the mistakes like this, I think, are such big mistakes that you can't be learning on the job in 16th place in the Premier League. And I think that this is going to send Amass the way of Chido back to the reserves. Because it's not good, is it? He doesn't know how to deal with it. And then look, do you see how he blocks him like an American footballer? He won't let him get back around him. It's such good play from Souček, to be honest, but it's terrible from our point of view. You're muted, Jarvis, if you didn't know.
Yeah. Sorry. Thank you for reminding me. Let's have a look at the second goal. And I don't know what happened here. I haven't analyzed it. This is the second time I'm watching it. It's Ugarte. I don't know what happened. He drops down something. He tries to shield the ball. He loses his balance. He gets too deep and drops down. And I don't know if he's trying to fake an injury or whatever, to gain a free kick in this situation. I don't know how you guys assess this. He tries to bend down and shield the ball and push back, and he hits Wan-Bissaka's knee. And I think the point of tip of Wan-Bissaka's knee gets into his lower back or something.
Yeah, it's a very poor free kick taking technique, because you need to jump towards the ball and put your arms around it there. Look, he's shielding the ball. He takes a poor first touch, and he shows like Højlund-like attempts to shield the ball by just making himself into a big sort of jumping jack. Yeah, like it's not a foul, I'm afraid.
No, I don't think so.
It's Ugarte not really at the level to play in central midfield, because that's a problem that he chooses to make himself. He can take the ball and just go and lay it off and do whatever, but instead he decides he's going to try and win a free kick. And Wan-Bissaka, we know him, he's a fairly average player. He's absolutely done Ugarte here by just not diving in. So it's not great on the young man there.
I just want to say big up to Ifeoku Dufia coming in, big up, and Dave coming in. You know, it's a sensible comment. Let's not scapegoat individuals. We were bullied all over the pitch again. We was physically not up to it in too many areas. And I agree, Dave, and I just want to reassure you and everybody who's watching. I will never sit and try to scapegoat anyone else.
Yeah, I don't think you scapegoat Ahmad. I think Ahmad isn't up to the level, is he?
No.
I think Ugarte you can expect more from, though. Harry Ahmad is just getting bullied, but you expect more from an international player like Ugarte. He shouldn't be making that mistake.
Yeah, but my point is, you know, we are sitting here trying to analyze what's going on the pitch, and
I think it's just annoying.
The only player I will scapegoat is Højlund, you know. So
yeah, look, players make mistakes. You're allowed to point it out. It's not. You're not blaming the entire thing on everyone. You're pointing out individual errors and how to improve.
100%. So second goal here again. Let's just play it from here and see what happens. I don't know if it's Kudos or who wins the ball again, and he just drives directly into the open space because there's no regard.
Though it's annoying,
and Bruno is high
regardless of whether he can get back or not. That's just annoying anyway.
And we know Kudos is good on the ball, carries it into a dangerous position. So you see there's basically 3 against 4, but Harry Maguire is a little bit late, and so is Bruno. So it's almost like a 3 against 2 in this situation. So when he cuts inside again, I want to look at the defender's position. So you have Lindelöf and you have, is it Mazraoui? Yeah, I think it's Mazraoui here. And Lindelöf, he positions himself well. He tries to move him outside. But, you know, Kudos is good on the ball. He cuts inside with the outside of his foot. Makes Lindelöf out of balance. Kudos tries to take the shot himself. Luckily goes over Mazraoui to Wan-Bissaka, who, I don't know if it's a cutback or a cross or whatever we want to call it. It's on the floor into Bowen, and Bowen hits it in the open net. Anything here to analyze, guys?
Yeah, there are a few things. If you take it back to where your man Ugarte loses the ball and Maguire comes out, okay. So this is something that I do know. In sort of what you would call emergency defending or transition sequences, if the numbers are equal or less, you have to give up the space. Yeah, so you basically drop. The numbers aren't equal or less here. So Maguire is perfectly entitled to come and put pressure on the ball and try and win it. He should be looking to push his man out wide here. And also, depending on how you're feeling in the game, it's okay to give a free kick away here, to be honest. Like if you feel it's fair. So when Maguire comes out, he does okay. He does okay on this. Like there's nothing fundamentally wrong with what he's doing here. So we're going to see him go and sort of apply it to Kudos and basically lose a 1v1 duel, which happens a lot. But he's pushed him out wide.
He gets a little bit flat-footed, in my opinion, and also the first rule of defending is to stall. You know, gain himself time, and I think he rushes out a little bit too quick and get it flat-footed, and then it's easy for Kudos because we know Kudos is an excellent dribbler.
Yeah, like he's got Kudos is left-footed though, isn't he? So he gets him onto his right foot. It's not like, I'm not saying that this is perfect defending, but this is okay. My concern is Bowen running off Bruno on the blind side there. The positioning,
here's Bowen.
He's still going, and Bruno isn't really following Bowen. He's following the ball. And then when Lindelöf comes out, Lindelöf demonstrates some very good footwork and does okay here. Like,
I think so.
I'm quite surprised how competent he does with this. But the danger here should be Bowen, and Bruno needs to be across more. Lindelöf has to delay, and Maguire's got to recover faster. This is a decent team can deal with this situation. To be honest, like you're asking a lot on Kudos to do something special here. And then as it plays, it's just the fine details that matter here. Look, great from Lindelöf there, though. That step inside.
And he blocks the shot, and actually defends really well in this position. Yeah.
But there...
But, then again, we start ball watching and we lose our sight of Bowen.
Well, it really here, the issue is I think that they're defending zones again. So Bruno's actually managed to get ahead of both our centre backs here to block out a dangerous area. He understands where the threat of Bowen here. Goalkeeper is in the right position because doesn't matter who it is, you've got to be protecting that near post. And it looks very difficult to score, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, so if you just play it a little bit.
Yeah,
it's such fine details, isn't it? It's
see the ball going through all those men, no one sliding. Maybe Mazraoui should have been more patient, applying pressure, not selling himself right away.
I think he doesn't trust the goalkeeper, to be honest, Jarvis, when you look at the body position he's in. His concern there is, do you remember earlier we talked about how when a midfielder comes out to double up, his main concern is the ball inside. This is what Mazraoui's main concern should be here, is stopping the ball across, holding him up to allow players, like you can see Kobe just ambling in, into the edge of the box. You've got to hold him up, and you've got to not give him an option inside, and you've got to trust that your goalkeeper's going to deal with it, at the near post. And Maz, I don't think he trusts his keeper here, and has therefore overcommitted and allowed it into the box, into the 6-yard box. But the setup there is okay on the basis that one of them has got to get their foot to the ball when it comes across. And they're all on their heels because they're surprised by the direction of the ball coming in. And I think that a lot of that is down to Maz not addressing Wan-Bissaka correctly to stop that ball across.
But why is it like every time, and I'll give this to Rich, why is it like every time we meet a former Man United player like Wan-Bissaka, they always have the game of their life against us at Old Trafford? We know this. They always score or assist or, Well, it's a great cross from Wan-Bissaka. Do you have an answer for that, Rich?
Why I don't know. The worst case is that, who is it went to Arsenal?
Welbeck.
Danny Welbeck. I think he only scores against Manchester United, doesn't he? I mean, he gets many other goals. I don't know. Wan-Bissaka was useful in some matches. I don't think he was terrible. I don't think he was as good as Wan-Bissaka fans think he was. But he wasn't a terrible player. So I don't know. I think it's just unfortunate there, isn't it? That maybe Bruno's momentum just goes a bit too far forward. But I think Mazraoui is just blocking the shot, not trusting Binder. Maybe he's just used to playing with Onana, so he feels like he has to do that. I don't know. But it's disappointing, isn't it? I thought once the attack actually looked like Mazraoui and Lindelöf were coping quite well considering the situation initially. Then it looks like Bowen and Wan-Bissaka both get a decent amount of space when Mazraoui is jumping for the ball. He's nowhere near Wan-Bissaka. So maybe I don't know if it's ball watching or they're just taking up positions rather than looking at the players in the box.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
but it's frustrating because we're not conceding a huge amount of goals in games. I'm more worried that it feels like we're not actually creating a lot of chances, not scoring. But no, what's disappointing with that is that that's an avoidable situation with Agate. And after that, Lindelöf actually copes quite well with he's in the worst position, but he does pretty well out of that position. And then it's just annoying, isn't it? It's just frustrating. I don't think Binder could do much.
No. I have another clip here. I want you guys to have a look at. It's a counter-attack from our side. No, it wasn't like West Ham was sitting down with two low blocks for the 2 blocks of 4 and 5 the entire game. They sometimes came into attack and it's like the old Muhammad Ali thing. Fly like a butterfly, sting like a bee, and when they tried, they came with numbers. So here they are on the attack, and Bruno intercepts the ball and hits it right away over the second block, and Ahmad is on the run here. So in this situation, we are actually 3 against 2. And if we look at it slowly, I think Højlund makes a decent run. And he gets the shot away, and it's a good save. But from a defensive point of view, this was probably the best West Ham could have gotten out of this, getting the shot from the side and not centrally. So I don't know, guys. What do you think about this?
Why do you think Højlund runs through the middle there? He goes for the right. Why doesn't he go for the middle?
It's clearing space.
You want him to do like this and maybe trust Ahmad 1 against 1 and isolate him against who is it, Cresswell? Yeah, you might be right.
So in terms of like a transition, there are always 2 things that are really useful to look at. One is the starting point, which is what I don't know. Do you talk about rest attacks on the channel?
Yeah. You can. But if you want to explain it to the audience, but I know the level of the Devilish Tacticos, they know their football. So
a rest attack. It's basically the position that players take up in their defensive, like in a defensive block, so that they have the ability to counter-attack more successfully. And essentially what you're doing in a rest attack is that when the ball is turned over, so when Bruno gets the ball, what you normally see is the 2 up front. So here you can see it's Rasmus and Ahmad, and they're taking out wide positions so that they're able to run into wide areas. The point of this and the point of Rasmus's run is that what you're trying to do is you're trying to clear a big hole in the center. That is the whole game of transition is to create an area to score from, and the best area to score from is centrally. So when Rasmus goes on the overlap, what he's trying to do here, and it's correct in my opinion, is he is trying to drag players from in to out to allow Garnacho to have a tap in. It's something we see all the time, and it is. I think it's perfect. I think that this is the right thing to do, unless you are Højlund, Henry, someone with outrageous pace that is able to just that is able to win a 15-yard, 20-yard sprint over someone. So Højlund does the right thing here. You can see that Garnacho has gone in and then he's going out again. He's waiting for the ball, but he recognizes here what is most likely to happen, which is that Højlund is going to get the ball. Like Ahmad is now going to move into the space that Højlund has come from. Højlund is going to go onto the space that has been created by the dribble and maybe be played through. And Garnacho here has now, he's got to find that pocket of space. Yeah. He's got to find that area where the ball can get to him and he can score. And a lot of the time, standing still isn't actually the worst thing to do in these situations. But as it continues, really, really good. You can see that this is the moment here. This is where Garnacho has got the space. Like you can get that ball across, but because you're having to play it across 2 men, if you're going by sort of percentages, it's best to slip it to Rasmus in this case. But we use bloody wing backs, so we don't have enough men in the box here. We should have one more in the box. So
maybe,
on the other side, because what we tend to see with Amarim's wing back system is that he would want Garnacho to run diagonally across the box near post here, and he would be expecting the wing back to be the guy that is arriving to the far post, and that gives you more
someone
options.
else coming here in this.
So would this be? I don't know who's on the pitch at this stage. It could be like a Mass or someone, but really, this is you need an extra player here. Bruno's taken himself out of the game because he's the one that's played the pass, and we don't have a midfielder that's powerful enough to do this running to be able. Because ideally, you would want your sort of your number 10, your runner midfielder to be the one running outside of Ahmad here, and then you have Højlund and Garnacho in the box. But this is unfortunately a drawback of the system.
But I want to commend, give an applaud to Max Kilman actually for his defending against Ahmad 1-against-1 here. How he actually do it, how he lead him on the outside and he Højlund coming outside. So I think he makes a brilliant defensive job in this moment. And I rate Max Kilman, and I know Stu Wally really rates him as a good defender. He stays on his feet. He's not. So in a way, it's okay to let give the shot from this angle.
I'm not sure Stu would be impressed with that little twirl he does there.
No. You should never turn your back on it. But.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, I don't think that Ahmad actually asks a lot of him here. Because Ahmad is he's dribbling the ball, but he doesn't. He's not making Kilman do anything here. Ahmad is basically just waiting for Rasmus to get out on the right, where I think Garnacho in this position, I think he's looking to score, and this is kind of the difference between those two players.
I would like Ahmad to cut in and then release the ball outside, just to drag Kilman this way, to create more space for Højlund, so he could receive the ball and cut inside and then get the shot away.
I completely agree, because when look in these situations, what you should sort of have in your mind is you're trying to move the man, you're trying to move the block in front of you. They don't want to be moved, right? They want to have it nice and easy, running backwards, no problems. You need to commit them, and you need to move them into spaces that they don't want to be. And I think that you said at the start of this clip that this is the perfect situation for West Ham at the end. A left-footed striker shooting on his right foot out wide with loads of people there. There's not enough that has been done by Ahmad and Rasmus here to unsettle that defence, to move.
What if Ahmad moves to his left, where the defenders may be not expecting that, and then it opens up, the other defender's got to move towards Ahmad, opening up more space for Garnacho. And that's maybe a few frames before that.
Yeah. So in this moment, you want him inside.
With Højlund's run there, the defender's going to be there because of Højlund. So if Ahmad moves in, the other defender's then got an option of whether he.
Yeah, I agree, Rich, because you see the trajectory of the run. They're pretty similar in this. But
then, they're both occupied by that one defender. There's two attacking players by Manchester United. I think when you've got 3 against 2, you need to try and bring the other defender across and leave Garnacho more space there. I just think it's Ahmad could have a shot maybe, but even if he has a shot, there's potential for rebounds. But I think I'd like to see him move into the left between the two defenders. Then possibly you got a bit more space for Garnacho or a shot from Ahmad. I just think it's good that I think Højlund making the run could occupy that other defender. So I wouldn't expect Højlund. It feels like if Højlund's going to take a shot from that angle, I've seen him do it multiple times. I don't expect it to be a very good move. I would just.
Yeah, and the thing is here, Højlund's run makes Kilman move this way. He has to have at least one eye on Højlund. So if Ahmad cuts in, maybe the job will be for this defender, and then suddenly.
Particularly as you could, everyone's expecting the pass to Højlund, which is what the defender's expecting. So with decent footwork, I think Ahmad can cause a lot of problems there.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing is you've got to commit Kilman here. Kilman isn't really doing anything special. So when Rasmus goes on the outside, that is the moment that Ahmad has to get Kilman engaged in the duel, because Kilman is basically just.
It's quite a straight run, isn't it? It's quite predictable. It's like we're watching it. It's quite obvious what he's going to do. I think if Garnacho probably drives in and probably tries to tackle Garnacho. If Garnacho's in the Ahmad situation, I think he'd be driving for the box. So the defender would probably be trying to look to engage him before he gets into the penalty area. I don't know. I think Ahmad has had a decent impact on the season this season, but I think there's other players you're looking at running defenders cause more problems than Ahmad does.
Yeah. I just want to address some of the comments. Mustafa comes in and say in a 3-4-3 there should be even 5 men there. I think that's almost asking too much, because that's the problem with the 3-4-3. You don't have the wingers when you go into attack like this. But it's a good comment. Saeed comes in and say Ahmad has to do better there. And yeah, I think there's no doubt about Ahmad's involvement. He could have made a different choice. Danny B agrees. He say, agree, Jarvis. Ahmad cut in, even took the shot himself and used Højlund as a decoy. Yeah, that would probably be the optimal solution for this.
Well, that's his best use, is it? As a decoy.
I was going to say that's the good use of Højlund, isn't he? He's not a striker, but he could be a decoy.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see whatever you say.
Can I just ask you a question just about Højlund? I don't want it to be like a negative thing about Højlund, but a lot of people, when I'm talking on my channel about Højlund, about strikers linked, and a lot of people say, let's keep him as a backup, etc. He's young, he'll develop. The way I look at it is, he is young. Like, you can't change what age he is, but when you look at his career, he's played nearly 200 professional games, and so I don't think he counts as a young player, because the amount of games he's played, he should be much more developed. I can look at Collier and say, right, Collier's played about 4 games for Manchester United. He's the same age. I just think this argument about age is irrelevant, that I don't think he's good enough. I don't actually think, if Manchester United keep him at the club for another year or 2 years, I don't see any signs that he's going to develop into a much better player. And am I being harsh, or like people say, oh, most strikers peak at, I don't agree players peak at a certain age. Different players peak at different ages, and a lot of players generally get a bit better with experience, coaching, etc. But I don't think Højlund's close to being what we need at the moment. I also, career trajectory, I struggle to see him being a useful player in a couple of years. I think for him, I think he needs to go to a different league to rebuild his career. I don't think the Premier League's going to work for Højlund.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And, I sit here hour after hour and talk about Højlund and how poor he is. And it's mostly about his decision making. I don't feel he takes the right choices. But against Athletic Bilbao in the last game, I think he was decent. His movement is decent, and he starts to look like a striker. It's more about his involvement on the ball. How poor is his technique, how he receives the ball, and stuff like that. But I think he's improving when it comes to his decision making, to be honest. And he did right in this instant. How to overlap on Ahmad. So, but I don't see a future for Højlund. I think we're better off selling him if possible, or loan with an option to buy for a year, or try to get rid in any sense, because he's not Man United material. And I think he's one of the biggest reasons why we struggle, because it's about scoring goals. And it's not just for Amarim, it was the same under Ten Hag. And I think it's also one of the reasons Ten Hag got the sack. I don't know if you guys remember the West Ham game, the last game of Ten Hag, how we dominated that game completely.
Yeah,
but we
dodgy
couldn't
penalty
score.
didn't help, did it?
Neither did Delone missing an open goal.
Yes, we all remember that.
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
I don't know, Batham. Do you think we should just get rid, move on, and find another striker?
Yeah, of course. I think that what you have to look at is, if you look at players like Lookman, Solanke, Gyökeres, it takes quite a long time now for these players to kind of like achieve their potential or reach it. So I think that when you look at like Rasmus, like I don't even really like these expressions, but like biomechanically, like his frame, his pace, like how his ability to strike the ball with power and things like that. I can see that there's a player there's a player in there. But as you say, his decision making isn't great. He doesn't have a nose or a hunger for goal, and he doesn't play with like courage in the box of getting across his man. I mean, you see what Souček is doing to Amas earlier on. We don't see Rasmus even attempting to do these things. He's always looking to score an easy goal. He just wants to score tap-ins. I feel that you're absolutely correct about how much he stinks up our play with his inability to make the ball stick. And I think that Rasmus, when he gets to 28 or 29, is going to be a very, very different player to what we see now, and he might actually surprise a few people. But it won't be at Manchester United, and we don't have time.
No, that's the thing.
We don't have 40 points. We don't have time next season for Rasmus to learn how to get his arm on the man in the box and things. We've got to look for the best deal and getting a striker that is able to operate a minimum at like a mid-table Premier League level.
I think so. And you know, we can talking about Højlund. He had a really big chance at the end of the game. We had a free kick from the side, and it was Bruno who was on the. We know Bruno. We saw it in the first game. He likes to dip it in front of first post, and you see Højlund here in the back. I don't know if you can see him, and I will try to slow it down because a lot of things going on in this frame. Okay, it's Maguire on the ball, winning the ball. It deflects from either Maguire or Todibo, I think, and it falls down into Højlund's feet. And you know, see here from this position, it's a dead open goal. And I don't know why he struggles. Well, he didn't score again. And you know, as a striker, there's no excuse. You have to score in these positions.
Yeah, I can't explain this. I'm not a goal scorer myself, but
no,
I fail to see how a coordinated athlete that plays in the Premier League in a striking position doesn't score there.
And here's the goalkeeper's arm. It's here.
I don't know what to say about that.
It's terrible.
I have seen, like, when I've been talking about Højlund, a lot of people keep telling me that everyone would fail to score in our team. I just don't agree. I think we've had chances. I think he makes our team worse and doesn't actively contribute to our team, and that's part of the problem. And I don't agree that we don't create chances. I think there's opportunities for Højlund. I just watch him just either like running the ball wide and not like wasting chances, or I don't know. It's frustrating because I don't want to write him. I've decided a while ago. I don't want to write him off, but I decided a while ago. It's just I just haven't seen anything when I'm watching that makes me think he's going to turn it around. Like in the next couple of years, like Baftam said, we can't really wait another 5 years to hope he turns into a great player. It's just we have to admit we made a mistake when we signed him. We need to like replace him with someone that can have an impact really soon. And I think for Rasmus, actually, he needs to find a club in a different league and build slower. Moving to Manchester United, I'm sure it was very attractive when he was third choice striker at Atalanta, but it's just too soon for him. He needs to go back somewhere else and rebuild his career, I think.
Cengiz says Rasmus is a lovely lad, but to be honest, to be fair, he's not good enough, and he should never been burdened with leading the line. Ridiculous from a big club like Man United, and you make a good point. You know, he's been burdened with being the main man, and he's not good enough. He should be second in line and learning from a seasonal pro. But you know, he's fumbling in his blind. You know, he can't do the things expected. But either way, he should be able to score on this big chance.
What do you think's gone wrong here, Jarvis? Like, does he think he's already scored? I'm not familiar with like your position. Like, you're a winger, were you? Like, were you a goal scorer?
Well, no, I played as a number 8 in a 4-3-3, and I had lungs. I could run all day up and down. That's my thing, you know. So
Me too.
Yeah. But I also in the 4-4-2 I played the fullback, or I even played in a double pivot, so more of a midfielder, defensive
So what do you think?
midfielder.
What has happened here? Because for me, the only explanation that I have here is that he's celebrated like too early. Because it doesn't matter how confident you are. Like I'd expect. There's not a player in the Premier League that I'd expect not to score this.
But that time, if you look at this, look at Højlund's arms. Arms are
Yep.
very important for your balance. And you should be focused on your thing and how to score goals. But he have no focus. He watches the situation. He waving his arms. He's everywhere. He's not focused on the main thing, and that's scoring goals. And that's why he's not a poacher. If you look at Højlund here, look at his arms. Why is he like...
Yeah. He's not set, is he? He's reacting.
No, yeah. So
I mean, I do feel a bit sorry for him. I disagree with all this stuff about leading the line to Manchester United being a burden. He knew what he's getting into, and I don't think he's shown enough improvements for me. Like, you can't look at any part of his game and said he's got better at this, or you can see him doing more than this. But I mean, this is a competition winner out of the crowd, Jarvis. This isn't a footballer here. And the thing is that you've got a that's Harry Maguire, who's got the stardust at the moment. You expect him to do something there, and you've got to be ready and willing. And you look at the other players like Kobe and who's our number 2? I'm not sure, but they both are in sort of much more set positions where they're on their toes. They've got their weight directed, and Rasmus looks like one of them things outside of like a car shop, the inflatable like dummy that's just that whatever they're called. That's what he's doing there. And maybe that's the second use for him after a decoy. You can sell some cars for people doing that.
All right, from now on, you're a decoy and an inflatable car thing.
It's options, though, isn't it? I think Højlund's got options. That's the main thing. Just not at Manchester United.
Yeah, that's.
I thought you meant in that situation.
I know. I mean, future career options. It's always good to have a backup. I think he can still make it in a different league, but it's good to have a backup. We probably paid him enough anyway, so it doesn't really matter what he does it?
Well, I mean, it does. To be honest, I'd love to see him. I'd love to see someone else come in. I'm not very impressed with Zirkzee either at the moment. I think if you put a goal scorer in this team, a competent centre forward, we've got a very, very good chance of getting much, much higher up the table. Sort of like,
yeah. I think people underrate how much. I think when people say, when we're linked to strikers, people say, but we need to replace the goalkeeper. We need to do. I think people underestimate the difference a quality striker makes. We're talking about 2 players for Manchester United that combined, I don't think they've broken double figures in the Premier League over a whole season. That is, to be honest, a striker at Manchester United getting less than 10 is pretty disappointing. But to score 4 or 5 league goals over 38 games, it's below disappointing. It's like you start questioning whether they're good enough to be a professional football player. So people make this argument
in the league for 4 months.
I think people would. A few weeks ago, I think I messaged you about time, and people were telling me that Andy Cole would fail to score in this team, and I was saying you need to revisit some 90s videos. Andy Cole, in terms of finding the right space, finishing, he would score a ton of goals. The amount of chances we create, the amount of attacking positions we're in. Rasmus Højlund seems to find the one position in the penalty area where there's 3 defenders in front of him. He seems to actively find the opposite of space. If you watch Andy Cole, it's not about bursting runs. Andy Cole is just in the right place, right time, does the basics incredibly well. It makes it look easy. People think, oh, it's another tap in for Andy Cole, but he's in the right place. Rasmus is continually in the wrong positions, and it makes defenders' jobs easy. If you like a lot of games I've watched, defenders, Rasmus has barely caused a single problem at all. And Andy Cole he'd have buried that chance for sure in that match, and he'd probably finished the other chance. I think the Rasmus Højlund chance he's got on his right foot, Andy Cole probably cuts inside and finishes that. It's just I'm so disappointed with Højlund this season, and I'm not normally ridiculously negative about one player, but I think when people say all the strikers we had in the past failed to score goals, it's wrong. Manchester United created enough chances in most games to win the games this season, and I think any competent striker like Van Nistelrooy, Andy Cole, we've had about 10 over the last 20 years, would score probably 20 goals this season, no problem.
They're a bit more than competent, though, aren't they, Rich? Like, you're talking, like Andy Cole is he fourth in the all-time goal scorers?
I think Andy Cole's underrated.
Yes.
For some reason, I don't know why, but he's underrated compared with. But he hasn't got ridiculous physicality. But he's just, I don't know. He's one of these players you just like watching because he just makes the game look really easy. And I think Rasmus Højlund makes the game look difficult, doesn't it? It makes it. You think, oh, how's he going to score? But do you not think that he makes the game look difficult? So you think, oh, how's he supposed to score? He's like wrestling 3 defenders. He makes the game look so. He's the opposite of Cavani. Where Cavani, you don't see where he is on the pitch, then he's just there to finish. But if you watch him, his movement is like really nice, deciding where to move. I think like if Garnacho could learn from players like that in terms of like, actually Garnacho, I would say, seems to take up. I know people criticize his finishing, but he seems to take up fantastic positions. Be really, the fact he's getting loads of chances. Yeah, Garnacho is good at taking up positions. If you could combine like Rasmus's finishing from easy chances with Garnacho's awareness of where to be, there's something to work on. But no, I think I've got more confidence in Garnacho as a long-term player because he does seem to cause problems. Like even if we're not having a good game, Garnacho causes problems with his running and his just tenacity. But yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating, isn't it? But I think you drop a Gyökeres in here, or I don't know, any of the strikers will link. People are really negative about Delap, but I think you might see a big difference with a player like him leading the line.
Well, hopefully the difference is, I looked at like Rasmus in the first half, and I thought he might as well just go and pack Bruno's suitcase for him to go to Saudi Arabia because no one could possibly.
Could they take Onana with them? Because I've heard Onana wants to go to Saudi. I don't know whether the Saudi Pro League are quite so keen, but take him along.
They probably love it, Rich. I imagine like Ronaldo is there saying that keeper is exactly who I need to be playing against. Like, get him in.
We should pay like Bruno 10% of the deal just to get it done, or 20%. Give him a fee. Go like Bruno.
I don't want to lose Bruno Fernandes. Even though, Jarvis, what are your thoughts on this move we've seen from Bruno from a 10 to a 6?
Yeah, but we saw it on the clips I showed you. I don't know if you were here in the beginning, but his strengths, he knows how to find players. He plays direct, he plays over, he plays key passes, and he creates stuff from the deep. And we don't have any other players that can actually do that besides maybe Casemiro sometimes when he gets a little bit of time on the ball. So I feel that we need Bruno in a deeper role, like in the pivot, because when we play with Menu and Ugarte, there's nothing. We are not direct at all. But we also need Bruno in the 10. So we need Bruno in 2 positions, and that's impossible for Bruno to.
We need 2 Bruno. So if we sell Bruno for 150, we need to buy 2 Brunos to replace him.
Yes, that's the thing. We need to buy 2 Brunos. But seeing it from a financial perspective, I think it would be wise, because I think we could have used that money and actually done well with it. But it's no guarantee. We might as well be ending up with poor players and without Bruno. So relegation next. So I don't know what to actually. I'm on the fence when it comes to selling Bruno.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't like it's so there's you miss him on the pitch and you miss him off the pitch. Like he's not an on-pitch captain, but he's a very good captain off the pitch. He reminds me of like Miss Marple or something. He's like a sort of an old woman in a village. He is in everyone's business, and he's always there. I think he's a great credit to the club.
I got the Christian.
Yeah, he loves it. We need Poirot in to come and help on these shows then. But I think that the issue is that since we've signed Bruno, I worked it out the other day, we've spent 670 odd million pounds. And we've got nowhere close to finding players of Bruno's quality. Like, you can argue that Maz is goodbye. You can say that Yoro is going to get there eventually, but no one of his sort of immediate impact. And I think that At the moment, I like Bruno more as a 6 than a 10. I agree. I'd love him at 10, but he needs to be at 6. And I think that if we sell him, we've got to get a 6 that is as good or better than him, and that's very, very unlikely. And we've got to get a 10 who's as good or better than him. And I think that is also unlikely as well. And whilst it seems great, 150 million, you just look at what we've spurged on players over the years. Like,
you've got to hope
I'm
that
not filled with
better, haven't you?
confidence.
That when you look at it, 150 in the past has got you Sancho and Anthony, and you have to think, look, we need to buy much better and pay sensible transfer fees. So 150 with really competent spending. I think there's several ways of looking at when people spend. So say, was it Coutinho got sold for 140? They got Van Dijk, they got Alisson. They addressed the issues their team had and bought world-class players in those positions. And Manchester United going to replace Bruno Fernandes with a couple of world-class players? It's doubtful. And I think you don't want to do Spurs replaced a world-class player in Gareth Bale with some players that didn't do as well. Eriksen was good, but I don't think they really replaced Gareth Bale.
Was it Salgado, one of them?
I think so. Salgado. Did they get who's the annoying one that got a player sent off for us a few times? Lamella,
and
maybe.
Brazilian midfielder. What's his name?
Was he the one that ended up in China and then went to Barcelona?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
I don't know his name.
Paulinho? No, Pau.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
But you could argue that Aston Villa did quite well when they sold Grealish. They already had a few targets in mind, and their squad looked a bit improved.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Rich. If we have a couple of targets in mind and we already know that we can get them, if we have the right amount, then the right move is to sell Bruno.
Accelerate a rebuild,
because Bruno is 30,
pressure on
reaching 31 in a couple of months. So in the long run, Bruno won't be here in a way. So we have to address it, and we have to be able to maybe it will kickstart the rebuild a little bit. But we have to have the right place in line.
I need to head off and get some food. One thing I will say, like with Bruno, as a final point, is in a few years Bruno will get replaced anyway. And if Bruno leaves the same way that Pogba, Lingard, Martial on a free, then we get nothing for him in a couple of years. So it could potentially be get the money and use the money to try and do, like, so Danny B says, the open heart surgery. Just use the money wisely, and it'll be probably a good decision long term. I think short term it feels risky, doesn't it? Because Bruno Fernandes, without him, the team does look pretty useless at times. But I think sensible spending of the money and we haven't done that in the past as a team. So obviously it's a leap of faith to hope we can do it in the future. Would be okay, but if it's crazy money, I think the club will probably accept it. My honest thing is, I don't think Bruno's going to leave. I don't think Bruno wants that.
No,
I don't think it's tempting for a player like Bruno. He looks emotionally invested in the Premier League and Manchester United, so I don't see the attraction of. He's already got more money than he's ever going to spend. I don't think he wants to go and play in the sand. Like you saw other players. Who was it Henderson?
Rich, how can you turn down generational wealth? It's generational wealth. We're talking about equivalent to making 2.25 in a week in the Premier League before taxes.
What does Bruno get now? At the moment, is it 3.75 a week?
Yeah, but you have to include the taxes, because when you earn like 1.2, 1.5 without taxes, you have to make at least 2.5 million in the Premier League a week. So
no one can.
At the end of the day, he will sit. He can
that.
kick back for the rest of his life, and his family and his children and children, and they will be set for generations.
Yeah, I mean, 31 is different for different players. Maybe Bruno Fernandes is thinking he's playing till he's 40, and maybe that's why he's in no hurry.
I think the World Cup is probably the thing for him. With Ronaldo out there, that's not going to be an issue. A player from Portugal going to the World Cup from the Russian league or whatever it's called. The issue, I think, that like Jarvis has kind of hit on a bit here, is that it's tax-free as long as he completes his contract. Otherwise, he then has to pay the tax on everything that he's earned. And I cannot imagine what it is like being given an offer of £180 million for 3 years' work. Like, I have absolutely no issues with how people put bread on the table for their children. Like, Bruno can go and accept that money, and I don't think any of us can complain about it.
Do you think he'd go? Like, do you think he's going to go?
I don't know, because it's such an obscene amount of money that it's you have to consider it, and then you think about how all the things you can do with that money. I mean, do you ever like buy a lottery ticket and then just sort of think, yeah, I'll get rid of my iPhone and on my
If you want it
runs,
every week.
yeah, like, I'll just hire an orchestra and get rid of, like, Spotify. Have that follow me around. Like, so I think that Bruno's wife, Bruno's mother, his brother, all these people.
If I was Bruno's brother, I'd probably have a few things to say. But no, I don't know. It's difficult to. A lot of people think Bruno will definitely stay, but can you imagine a scenario where Bruno Fernandes gets injured next season? I know he's been lucky. I just think if I was a Manchester United owner and I got that offer in and Bruno wanted to go, I'd be like, yeah, off you go, Bruno. Thanks for all you've done for the club, and we have to look for the future. But it's a tough
what Jarvis says. It's the difference between a gamble and an investment. If they have a list of players or a profile of players, the way that Liverpool did, where they wanted to play higher, so they needed Alisson, they needed Van Dijk, and it allowed them to get the best out of other people. It allowed the ultimate, the ideal expression of the system. That's one thing. If on the other thing, it's maybe Bruno gets injured, 150 million is a lot of money. That is you're literally playing with chance here, and you're gambling. And if they have a plan and they think, for example, Wharton, Gyökeres, and I don't know, Frimpong, like if they can get all those players in,
get Dean Houston in, get Zirkzee in, you got the money, get the whole team together. Yeah, that would make sense.
No, that's different. It's not just get them in. If you've got the money, get a new team together. It's if they have identified players that create a situation where we go up in productivity compared to keeping Bruno, and it's more of a kind of a net outcome. I'm perfectly fine with that, but I just don't think that I don't trust A, that they have that, or B, that they have the kind of skill to analyze that, because the players that they've brought in have all been fairly sideways steps. Ugarte, De Ligt, Dorgu, Zirkzee. None of them have really shown like a system improving or being able to bring out the best in players. And that's kind of like, so if it's a choice between sign loads of players and sell Bruno because he might get injured, I'm out. But if it's like Jarvis says, that there is a well-structured, thought-out plan, I'm in. I'm investing, Jarvis.
So who makes the decision? Is it the Glazers or Ineos in this? Or is it actually the footballing structure with Wilcox and Vivell? So that's another issue. And
Probably
maybe the
Bruno,
Glazers wants the money. So, yeah.
It's up to Bruno, I think, really, because regardless of what I've said, like 150 million.
We're definitely taking the money, aren't we? If Bruno says I'm going, we're definitely taking it. I need to head off, guys, but it's been great to speak to you, Jarvis. Great to catch up with you, Bafton, as well. So I need to head off and get
thanks
some
for coming on, Rich, and people. You want to shout out Red Devils United and tell people about your channel, maybe?
Yeah, sure. Regular streams from Manchester United, games previews and news. So Red Devil United, it's at the moment it's mainly myself and with some guests on as well. Usually about 8 p.m. in the evening and maybe 1 p.m. lunchtime is what I'm doing at the moment. But yeah, come by and moan about Højlund, talk about Bruno speculation if you want to, because we'll be doing the same thing in the comments. But cheers, Jarvis. Cheers, Bath Time, and cheers everyone in the comments. I might be doing something tonight, but it's probably going to be like 8:30 onwards if I do something tonight. But it depends how I feel after having some food. But cheers, guys. I'll see you soon.
Cheers. Thanks for coming on. Thanks. Okay. That time. We've been going on for 2 hours, 13 minutes and 40 seconds. So do we have time to see a couple of more clips, or should we just wrap it up?
It's your show, Jarvis. I'm very happy to sit here and chat to you.
Okay, cool. We can do a couple more. I have two more snippets we can you can have a look at. But first, I just want to say Daniel Brain coming in and say some players need to go. Ahmad's too young. Don't think you can give an 18-year-old competitive games in the Premier League nowadays if you want to win things. And yeah, that's a decent take. But if you're good enough, you're old enough. Age is just a number. But I think we saw clearly today, and we've seen it several games, that Ahmad, he lacks the necessary experience and know-how to play in the Premier League. And yeah, I don't know. Are you for a loan or sell or keep playing Amas in the Premier League bad time?
I think I'm probably for a loan keep, where I think that there was a player called Fernandes who we sold to Benfica, and we did it on the back of the great hope that everyone has in Amas. Like when Wilcox came in last year and demanded a change in formation and things like that, we know from reports that he wanted Amas in, and Ten Hag said, "I'm telling you, he's not ready." And I think that the issue is it's you can see that he's a good player, that he's got technique and things like that. But you can't buy experience, and we're not in a position now where we can bring a good, promising young player into an organised and settled team that's performing well and drip them the experience. So a choice has to be made, which is that he's been at the club for quite a long time. So it's different to someone like Obi Chido Martin, who I think needs to stay for a year to kind of get the club, as it were, and things, and feel like it's his home before he goes. I think that Preston and Wigan have always been great places to send our young players, because it means they can stay in the same digs and they're not far away from friends and family. And I would like to see them sort of develop a conditioning plan for Amas to put on a bit of muscle and things. And I'd like to see him get a year of doing it in the trenches, week in, week out, in a league below, where he can make mistakes without the huge pressure that comes from Manchester United, grow his game and come back a better player. But I think that he's got a lot to be hopeful about. But what Souček did to him it shows that he's nowhere near ready for the 1 percentile top level football.
Rashmana comes in and say Amas's physicality just isn't ready, and Souček pushed him to one side for the goal. And if you came in late, Rashmana, you can go back and watch us analyze it, and it was clear as day that Amas lacks the physicality, and Souček, there's not much to say about that goal, but big up Rashmanov, thank you for joining. And Red Devils United Rich comes in and say make sure to drop a like and subscribe to Tactical Devils, and also go to his channel Red Devils United. On this platform we collaborate as best as we can. Let's go to the header of Harry Maguire. Just slow it down. I think this was a big chance. Unfortunately, I saw someone requested the Garnacho chance. I don't know what happened, but I don't have it. So it's a corner kick from Bruno, and you look at Harry Maguire here. Point blank. It's a difficult header in a way. He needs to wrestle a lot, but it's straight on goal on the goalkeeper. But it's a big chance. I like Harry Maguire and how he wrestles. And we were a threat as soon as he came on when it comes to set pieces. So he's a vital player from that point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like this is monstrous in some ways from Harry Maguire. Like this isn't like Harry Amas here. This is Aaron Wan-Bissaka, an experienced professional, and Maguire is basically Godzillaing him here. And this is why he's so effective in both boxes. Just like the footwork because he's driving from his back foot whilst having the strength to hold off like Wan-Bissaka. And the issue here might be that Dorgu gets in his eye line, that he's not completely clear on the flight of the ball. But it's about directing his header. He's done all of the hard stuff really, really well. It's I mean, he makes good contact. Everything's fine. It's the direction, and I agree with you. It's a good chance. The thing that disappoints me about this is the positions of Rasmus and Garnacho here, where I don't think they look ready for the ball to be spilled here. And in the same way we had a go at Rasmus earlier for sort of missing, I don't know what you call that, whatever you call what he missed, but you've got to expect that Maguire is going to win a header, and you've got to be ready for it. So maybe because we dealt with Onana so much, that's where we think the ball is going to go, where you're circling.
Yeah,
and maybe they are in the correct positions here for a rebound. I'm not sure, but you can see that Rasmus isn't aggressive enough there to be able to get ahead of his man, as it were. And the only player that's jumped in this sequence is Dorgu. The rest of them are flat-footed. You can see that no one's trying to like drag men out from a corner. It's not very impressive. The only impressive thing is Maguire basically muscling Wan-Bissaka to get the ball and then not being able to direct it. It's worrying.
Yeah, but it's also a good save from the goalkeeper and not giving away a rebound in this instance, Well, I agree with you. Maybe Højlund and even Garnacho should be closer to goal and be ready for that ball. But it's a big chance. And, Wan-Bissaka, knowing from his time at Manchester United, he wasn't the best defending his own box. He usually dozed off defending the back post a lot of the times. So him against Maguire, I think that's a gift to us, and we should have exploited it better.
I think Maguire's looked for Wan-Bissaka here as well. In the game, as I say, I was only able to watch the first half. It felt to me that Wan-Bissaka was targeting Ahmad for the majority of the game, but in the set pieces, it did look like we were trying to get our strongest header attached to Wan-Bissaka because they think that they've got the juju on him, and Maguire demonstrates it here. It's just what's so worrying about this, Jarvis, is that set pieces are really important to defend and attack. Everyone knows that, but especially coming up to a cup final, Maguire's going to be one of our best weapons in order to get a goal. And I would love today to have seen more sort of variations, almost experiments in how to get Maguire 3 in the box for a set piece. And this is, unfortunately, just sticking it in the mixer and seeing.
But I think we're better off as soon as Casemiro is on the pitch, because then we have two main threats when it comes to set pieces. And it's not as easy for the defenders because, this wasn't the best defending from West Ham, but in a way, I feel we are better off when we have at least two players with a real threat when it comes to heading the ball.
What if we don't? What if we just have one? That's what we've got to kind of prepare for. And I think that this season, when we've just had one aerial threat, we've normally had Maguire miles outside, and his job is to get first contact and knock it across. And maybe because we don't know if Casemiro is definitely playing the final. We all assume so, but we all assumed Yoro was definitely playing. Things can change in 5 minutes at Manchester United, and I feel that as coaches, we should have more tools at our disposal to be able to unlock teams, rather than saying, if Casemiro was here, we've got 2 targets. We've got to solve these problems, and we've got to demonstrate we can solve them. And this is why these things disappoint me.
Yeah. The only thing I have left is this chance, and it's in the dying minutes. I think it's a counterattack from West Ham, but how we dealt with it again, it's Calamity FC. So it's Bowen on the ball against Lindelöf. Eriksen is back playing to Lindelöf, and Lindelöf crosses it into the feet of the number 6. I don't know who is the number 6. That's who's that? That's one of the subs that came on. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But you see this chance, and it goes on to goal, and it's a great save from Binder.
De Gea like that.
Yeah. Although I don't like goalkeepers sitting on their ass, they should keep themselves on their feet. But he stretches out really well, and and he blocks it with his right foot. But again, you see the defending. I don't know what to say about this. It goes off the back of Bowen, and a little bit lucky now from Eriksson, trying to keep it in
Poor
play.
pass.
But what is Lindelöf doing here?
Yes. He's been given a difficult pass like this. Very confusing, Christian Eriksen.
Bouncing, yeah, okay. But then, when in doubt, clear it out,
Well, that's the thing, is that I think what Lindelöf probably expects is that as a midfielder here, I'm sending that home. Like, I'm giving that to the goalkeeper, because the pass that Eriksson gives there is, I'm sure maybe if you don't,
bouncy pass, yeah.
Well, that is a legitimate and the most consistent pressing trigger you will see in football, because it's a straight pass, and that means that when you chase the pass, you're able to block the ball to the guy that's passed it, so you can jump, right? So that is so when Eriksson plays that pass, Lindelöf should know that he's in problems. Everyone on that team should be aware that now the press is on. So it's a terrible pass from Eriksson, not just the execution, but just playing a straight backwards pass like that. You've got to clear 2 lines if you're doing that, which is why I said send it home to the keeper. Here, you'd love to see him take that down and turn into that space, or to turn away and put his body between the player. He just gets it completely wrong. He panics, and the defender, the attacker reads it. But once again, this kind of individual error, which starts the first point of failure is Eriksson. But as a professional footballer, you should be able to deal with this situation. Lindelöf is the captain of his country and has played a lot of football matches. And here he's not relying on his experience. He's not relying on his fundamentals. He's scared about that pass. Do you see how he plays it? The way his eyes are just glued to the ball the whole way. He doesn't need to scan because he sees the player there, but it's a dreadful, dreadful error. And it is symptomatic of things that happen all season, where players aren't playing with aggression or looking to solve problems. They're scared and they're just trying to get the ball away from him. And shout out to the goalkeeper, because he does well here, but he should be punished for stuff like this. It's disgraceful.
But in a way, sometimes I would like, for example, this is just nitpicking, maybe Harry Maguire should move himself a little bit deeper to make the pass easier for Lindelöf, just to, in a way, secure him, because it's much more difficult to make a square pass than a little bit behind, So sometimes, but I see this a lot of time, especially when the goalkeeper gets the ball and wants the centre back to be quicker to drop down and make themselves available. And this is a kind of similar situation in a way.
I'm not a goalkeeper. I can tell you that I think Maguire should be getting wider here, because you would assume the ball is going back to the keeper. The only question I have about a goalkeeper, and if there are any who know what they're talking about, I'd love to speak to, is I always thought goalkeepers in this position need to drop and get wide as well, so that when the pass goes back to them, if they miscontrol it, it doesn't go in the goal. Basically, that they've got to be wider in these positions. And I wonder if that plays into Lindelöf's thinking that the goalkeeper isn't set, and so he decides to give it to basically the head boy at the moment, Maguire, and let him deal with it. But I think you're completely correct that the details that you need to win football matches have not been present this season. Players being 2 yards the wrong side.
But I'm just a small observation to give some credit to Lindelöf. If you look at the shadows, you see the sun, and look at Lindelöf's arm. He uses it like this, and I think his vision is a little bit blurred because of the sun. Look there.
Right. But it's true for everyone, Jarvis, that there is a sun for everyone. Like Bowen is doing it as well. This is something I think that I expect a footballer to be able to deal with the sun and the moon and things like that. I understand that maybe this is why he concentrates so much, and so on. But these are things that you have to deal with as a human being or a footballer. I do understand. I do understand your point though, but it's so shocking to stab that pass down. Like you can just turn out there or turn in. Awful.
Yeah. But again, it's a good save from Bayinder, and again, it's a calamity from our defense. And tonight or today, they was piss poor. So,
do you think they're better in Europe? Do you think that the standard, like in terms of the details and things, is higher in Europe, or it's the same and we're just not being punished?
I don't think people realize that Europa League is a level below the Premier League, even the best teams in Europa League. And I think that's why we are getting away with it. I think the level and the tempo, the physicality, at least, I think and the aggression, the press play is so much higher in the Premier League. So I think it's easier because these players are not good enough. And I said it right away. I said it at the beginning of the season. That's why I wanted Ten Hag to stay, because I think that these players are not good enough. And I think the quality is poor. And I think that's why we struggle. But we get away with it in a way in Europe, in Europa League. And, we've been up to against Lyon, Bodø/Glimt, Glasgow Rangers. It's not the prime of European football. It's a level below. And even West Ham has better players. And if you look at money, the budgets of all these other teams we face in Europe, it's not even half of what every Premier League club makes. So
I tend
think
to agree.
we got to look at self in the mirror, and we can't big ourselves too much up because of this going to the final in Europa League, because I think it's papering over the cracks.
Well, I think when you see that essentially the two worst teams that will stay up in the Premier League this year are competing for the final of the Europa League, that you kind of have to think that it's not just like the amount of money that we play to the players, it's the facilities, the resources in terms of, video analysis and like training pitches and all these things. They should be at the very top. And obviously we've had a lot of red cards, and that has helped. That has helped greatly. But I mean, letting Lyon back into a game that we were 2-0 up in. Yeah. I just what has really disappointed me is I'm not sure how much you know about Portuguese sports science from the 1980s, but there's a guy called Victor Frade who is he's the Dom of Portuguese sports science. He's one of the most important figures in sports science, and his work has influenced Jose Mourinho all the way up to Amarim. And you can even see this in players like Ronaldo and Delô and Bruno in terms of how sort of focused they are, their injury records and so on. They're absolutely obsessed with how to incorporate tactics into training. And it's called tactical periodization. It's a really interesting thing, and it's where you hear stuff like game models and so on coming from. Mm-hmm. And my real issue is that under Amarim, I've seen very, very little improvement in any kind of the details, of players just being a little bit more in or a little bit more out, or because the details are what matter. And what I feel is that we're going back to just relying on things like Maguire and Ahmad and Bruno producing in key moments. And I'm very concerned that the team is really it's on such a decline from where it was with Ollie. When we were second and third with a team that everyone thought was crap, and now look at us. And I'm really worried that the Europa League, when you say it's papering over the cracks, it's going to allow the drop in the standards and having players that aren't good enough to stay longer. And I'm really I'm fretting quite hard about the future at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's almost like it's going to get worse before it gets better, and I think a lot of people need to readjust their expectations for next season. I don't think it will be as easy as people say. We just need a big transfer window and just sign 7-8 players, and then we will be good. I don't think it's that easy. So that's why I worry for Amarim next season, because I don't think this fan base or the owners have the necessary patience with Amarim.
I think the match-going fans do. Like they love that song. Like they will not stop singing the Amarim song. Online is a different story and it's a different world. And people, I mean, I think that someone the other day told me that Amarim had 72 points to work with when he came. That was the maximum he could have got. And I haven't actually looked up how many points we've got since Amarim come, but the fact that we haven't got 40 and it's it's May. Like it's unreal. And when you talk about you don't think the problems will be solved by having like 7-8 players coming in, is that why is that? So you're saying it's not player quality that's the issue, it's something else?
Well, you see, a lot of these players that leave, Anthony, Rashford, suddenly succeed. Even Sancho last season when he went to Dortmund, and McTominay, for example.
Oh, yes.
So in a way, it's hard to say that the players aren't good enough when you look at it. But as soon as they sign for Man United, the level drops. And why is it? It's a cultural problem. I think it's about pressure. I think it's about social media, too many distractions. And I think it's a culture driven by money. And results doesn't matter. And I think that's where we are. And I think it takes a lot of time to change the culture. I run my business myself, and I know how hard it is to change the culture. You can only change like at least one thing at a time, even though you want to change like 10 things. But you can't. You have to just take it step by step, slowly. And that's why I think, even though if you sign new players, the new players that comes in, there's no guarantee that they will succeed, even though if they're great names and they have all the best stats and they're perfect for this system, even if you sign like Jokenes, it's no guarantee that he will score 20 goals in the Premier League. So that's the biggest issue, and I don't see it getting fixed by one season or one transfer window. I think we need more time.
I kind of agree. Like I've always felt that we should be a lot harsher on Louis van Gaal, because I feel he gutted the culture from our club with those 19 signings. And I know a lot of people like have this view that it is the manager that runs a training room, that runs the dressing room and things. For me, it's always been players. And like that is how, like, culture by definition is acquired knowledge. Like that's the technical definition of it. And so the idea is that the same values and standards will be in a place for 10 or 15 years, despite all the people changing, because it's something that is passed on to others. And I feel that what has happened at United is that we've taken out the good characters and we've put in people that aren't really sort of focused and turn up from time to time. And this is why we're doing all right in cups. Like we've done well in is this our 5th final in 5 years? That they can get themselves up for some games, but for the bread and butter, it's not there. And players like Bruno, Delo, I think that those are good characters to have around. I'm very gutted that we sold Scott McTominay. I loved him as a player. I know it wasn't popular at the time, but he had the correct attitude. And when Amarim came in, what I really liked is that he put his cojones on the line, and Garnacho and Rashford were sent straight out of the squad as he put like the law down. And what I want us to do is that when we recruit, it's now not just recruiting. It's now not just recruiting for what's on the pitch. It's the attitudes outside of the pitch.
Yeah,
like
100%.
I believe that the signings of Alisson and Salah at Liverpool at the time were actually quite driven by their characters, because they're both, I believe, quite deeply religious men, and they're not into going to LA Lakers games like dress silly, or like, they're not like Jack Grealish and Rashford, proper lads. They're sort of professionals. And so whilst I'm not over the moon about the signing of Dorgu and Ugarte, maybe their characters are what is important. And as Vulpes says here, one signing for everything to click. There also, I think, needs to be a figurehead, which is that, like, when you bring young players in and stuff, you want them to rally around someone, and there's no better example than Eric Cantona. Like the class of '92 would never. This is why I kind of want to keep Bruno, because I'm not comparing him to Cantona in terms of all the things he can do, but I think his attitude is correct. And for me, I think that this game of changing managers has gone on for too long now. We've really got to get good characters into the club, get the dressing room back, and focus on the values, which is essentially what Sir Alex Ferguson did when he came in. His first thing was to root out the drinking culture from the football club. And now, do you know, it's got to be rule out the WhatsApp, Instagram culture from the dressing room. That's how times have changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you know, modern culture is about individuals, and in a team sport, I think that's not compatible. So I think we need to have more unity in our dressing room, and I don't think the players are good friends anymore. I don't think they talk to each other in that way. I think when practice training is over, I think they go home to their life, and it feels like they don't know each other on the pitch sometimes. You don't see them commanding each other, talking to each other, demanding things from each other. And, you know, it's just like, I'm just here doing a job. So it feels like we have assembled a bunch of mercenaries, like in general,
I read
for the
an
last
interview.
7-8 years.
I read an interview with Garnacho, which it was in Spanish, which probably was why it wasn't picked up as much, where Garnacho came during COVID and basically had absolutely no social interactions during that time with even the people he trained with, like, and stuff like that. And I always felt that with COVID, the players were going to understand how important being a team was, the connection with the fans and stuff. But what really happened is in that season, they showed how good they were when they had no distractions, and then went back to being distracted by everything outside of football. And it's so concerning for me, because it feels like United need to address almost a societal issue before we can get back on. But every other bloody team is able to do it. Why can't we? Like, a lot of the things that other teams do when they don't have the ball are things you can expect professional footballers to do. Close down, show effort. I'm really, really worried, and I do wonder if winning the Europa League is going to get a lot of players off the hook who should just be slinged out. Do you know what I mean? I feel
I think you're on to something really important. And you see Agile Beast 21 coming in and say, or taking selfies from fan phones during a celebration. And I think it tells a lot about the culture. And, you know, it's about the selfish culture, about them as individuals. And you make a lot of good points there that time. So
to be fair, Totti did that. And he is one of my favourite players ever. So I'll forgive him that. But
I think he was God in Rome. You know, he was the closest thing to God you can ever come.
He was great. But I think a better example, rather than saying like taking selfies, is a photo that will come to haunt us for years, which is Rasmus, Kobe, and Garnacho, like on the bench, like as a sort of like, everyone's got it, haven't they?
It's there somewhere, but I don't know if you see it.
We can see. I think that photo is kind of sums up quite a lot that is wrong with the players, where they saw scoring a goal as a photo opportunity. And I know it's like boys being boys and things, but you've got to be more like men, to be honest, to go and win leagues. And I'm always worried about that photo, because I think it sent the wrong message out how it was received.
Yeah, and we also have the you know, a couple of years ago we had Anthony, Rashford, Martial, and Greenwood, and that was the next generation of striker talents. But look where they are now. So
that's I'm sure that's because of COVID, that they were concentrated. Like during that time, they couldn't make mistakes, because, like, one thing I will say about Ollie is he tried to assemble one of the most psychologically interesting front lines ever of three completely introverted players in Sancho, Martial, and Rashford. Like, what a weird mix, like, of just having very sort of sullen introverts, when we're used, like culturally, we're used to sort of Best, Ronaldo, Beckham, like extroverts on the pitch. I always found that very, very strange. And I'd like us to really sort of focus on getting good characters in, like now. So, like Cunha with his walking stat already, that puts me off.
Worries me.
Bit. Yeah, I'm worried about that. Cause I'll tell you, Jarvis, what this team doesn't need is the best walker in the Premier League. That's what we don't need.
We can already read the highlights, with lazy player. We all remember how the character of Martial was put out there. Walking all the time, lazy, not bothered. It will be the same with Cunha. If he's not scoring goal for five games, the tabloids will be at him. They will try to get him. And as you mentioned, the walking stats, I heard it from you first. So I'm glad you told me, so I know what to prepare for when it comes to Cunha. But he looks like a brilliant player on the ball, at least.
Well, I'd actually prefer a player who's not really on the ball in that position. I want someone who gets ahead of the ball because you can have your left side number 10, think of Kobe or a Bruno who's passing it about. I want someone that's kind of running in behind, that is like disrupting blocks through movement and so on. And I mean, like, obviously they know a far lot more than I do about what they need in their team, but just a big lad running about off of Zirkzee, off of Rasmus. I think, like, look at the difference last year when we had McTominay basically doing that in the box-to-box role, not really touching the ball, but just tearing it into the box, opening channels and contributing goals. We were better and more dangerous as a team. And I always felt that selling McTominay to get Ugarte in was a poor move because it wasn't replacing McTominay. Like with McTominay, we needed like that kind of box to box player that we were, Jarvis. And I feel that this is what United lack, is that when you look at Ahmad today, passing the ball back inside to Bruno passing it back to him, it's because there's no one in the box that is making a venomous run that demands the ball the way Cavani, Ronaldo, even McTominay did. And that's what I'd love to see from Cunha. But I don't think you can have a venomous walk. I don't think that's going to disrupt a low block. So I'm a bit worried about him, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel the same. I hope that we signed him for the right reasons, and not what we hope that he can be. But he's an Amarim player, so let's just trust Amarim on this. But I think we need more pieces in this jigsaw to solve it. And I don't think the Cunha is the main piece, to be honest.
Who would that be? Or what would that be?
Well, I think the most important role now is the striker, as we talked about. Someone like Gyökeres, maybe not Gyökeres himself, but someone with that movement and strength, and the ability to penetrate the opposition defense by great diagonal runs to hold up the ball. And I think it will make us a better team, because I think we are good if we are able to get in that position, but we lack, because we can't play out from the back and we can't transition the ball from defense to attack. I think that's one of our biggest problems. And when we do, we always do it by hitting it long, and that's like plan B from Amarim. It's not plan A.
Would you say someone like Ollie Watkins is like a Gyökeres player, like sort of plays a bit out wide, like physical, but has a goal threat?
Well, the thing is, if you look, have you ever had a look at Gyökeres' heat map?
No.
Let's see. Give me 2 seconds. Can you do a couple of comments? I will just find it because I feel this is interesting.
Sure. I can't get them up, but Agile Beast, good evening to you, sir, is saying a ball carrier in the midfield for me. Excellent point. I saw a statistic the other day that the Premier League, when you like entries into the final third, the majority are done by ball carries. And this is something that we don't have in our team. Progression is done through passing, not through carrying. And it's something we would love to see. Aaron Mitchell, I hope you're doing well, says a two-man midfield is problematic. I couldn't agree more with you, Aaron. I'm completely lost talking about 2-men midfields. It seems a bit crazy to me. We've got Naz M87, the best motorway. We have to trust the process with Amarim. We knew he had to absolutely break this team apart before moving forward. Tough to watch, but needed. So some support for Amarim there. We've got Daniel Brain, who says we've got at least 2 seasons to sort this team. And obviously, we've got the main man. It's Rashmano. Has Slot improved Liverpool, or was it Klopp's legacy? Next season is Slot's test. He's done pretty well in his first season. Skranda Kromi. He said that Slot improved the team. Amarim couldn't. I thought he's an elite coach that can coach players to his system. In fairness to Amarim, the pre-season is I can't overstate how important the pre-season is, because with players like Amarim, coaches like Amarim who rely on Friday's game models, what they basically do is they try and have situations where the players are prepared for anything, and they walk them through it. They stop sessions. They do all these things that we hate as players. But that 4 or 5 weeks that they get to work with them forms the foundation of the entire season. And Amarim coming in late to the season with a new system and no money is a bit ridiculous, to be honest, to expect from him. All right.
Thank you, Bad Time. Thank you. So this is his heat map, and if you look at, basically we're looking for the dark red spots, so that's where he occupies most of his time. But you see he's all over the place, and how he actually is contributing in both right, left, center, and it's not actually in the middle of the box. Let's say we have been linked to a player like Osimhen. Let's see if we can find him. Is it like this? No. How do you say it? How do you write it?
Is it Osimhen? Like Osimhen? Is that it?
Without an H?
So I think it's OSI. There you go.
There we go. So if you look at his heat map.
Oh, yes.
You see the difference. And we are linked to both of them. So it tells me someone is lying, or we don't know what we're doing. What type of profile are we looking for?
Well, I mean, there's different ways of looking at it, because these are like for different teams as well. But what's really interesting about this is the positions in the box that they take up. When you see Gyökeres is on that, like the left. So is he right? Is he right-footed, Gyökeres, or is he left-footed?
I think he's right-footed, but I'm not entirely sure.
Okay,
doesn't say.
It's very interesting that he's so from this, and remember, this is a simulacra. I've never really seen a lot of these players play. Osimhen occupies spaces in the box, and I suspect using strength and guile and things, he gets a yard and gets his shot off. Whereas Gyökeres looks to be looking for space. So you'll essentially, I reckon, if you put a heat map up of Cavani and a heat map up of Ronaldo, you would get sort of similar things you'd get similar figures for these. You can also see that Gyökeres is really in that center circle for transitions, I would suspect.
Yeah.
Like when they don't have the ball, he's ready to go. And maybe this is how you have to play with a 3-back, where you don't, you're not going to get that support from wide players. You've just got to have a player that's going to run it when they get the ball and not look for anything. It is crazy how different these profiles are.
It's crazy, yeah. And this caught my eye because I was trying to figure out, why are we looking at these two players? So who else are we linked to? We are linked to that guy.
Delap. He's always a popular one.
I want to go back. Oh, what did I do? Go back. So here we are. So how do I change player? No.
I can't help you, I'm afraid. Maybe if you just press the back
I'll
button.
go back here and just compare, and then we go Delap. Liam Delap. So again, it's more similar than Osimhen, but it's not perfect.
I would say this is
especially
probably,
when you look at the box.
Do you not think that like when you look at like Ipswich and their position and things, that you can extrapolate kind of similar areas out? It's just that he has to do a lot more defending than he does attacking. You can see that like he's in that kind of like inside left, like in that half space a lot. He's definitely an outball from this map in wide areas, and you can see that he's not concentrating his movements into the same zone as.
I think he's a better hold-up striker, but I don't know. It looks like his game is more. But it's different teams. Bottom of the Premier League, Ipswich. So maybe that's one of the reasons. And just to make it interesting, let's just compare him to Højlund and see how. Rasmus.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we see they are kind of similar in a way.
They're very similar, with the exception of what's going on in the box. And Rasmus, I mean, I know we jokingly referred to him as a decoy earlier, but he genuinely is. His job is like to clear spaces in the box for Bruno and Garnacho, which is why you see him like concentrated on the 6-yard box. But that's very interesting because you can see so many similarities there, especially in the middle third of the pitch, where they're like, I assume that's where they're contesting duels and so on. But yeah, I'm not sure about Gyökeres, like signing him. It's a lot of money. He's failed in England, like at Brighton. I thought he was more a sort of Dan Ashton sort of signing, but looking at that, what you would see is like Rasmus Deluxe, like able to operate as a footballer and score some goals.
I saw. I haven't seen the heat map of Patrick Schick. I just want to bring this up before we wrap this up. Let's see, compare, because Rosmano mentioned him. We have been linked to that guy. Yeah. How do you see Schick? No. Let's try to.
Is it SZ?
There we go. Patrick. But you see, he's more of a central in the box striker. So
he's a big lad, though, isn't he?
But his hold-up play is not the same, or his movements.
No, you would looking at that straight away. You think he's playing with a second striker or a high 10 because his movements are going out wide, and you can see there's a huge gap created exactly where you want a player. Whereas if you look at Gyökeres, Gyökeres is going to like where there is space rather than creating space. I mean, I suspect that these heat maps for Schick would look very similar to someone like Kai Havertz, where, like, when we talk about beating low blocks and stuff, like one of the easiest ways to beat a low block is to be taller than everyone and head it. And I believe that this is something that Schick does. I don't know. I've never really liked Patrick Schick. I've seen him play against Scotland where he scored an amazing goal for the Czechs. I look at him and I think he's a scorer of great goals rather than a reliable goal scorer. I would skip if I was given the chance on Patrick Schick. I like that Samu.
We have a couple of requests, so let's just try. So who do we have? We have Boniface. Let's have a look. But I don't know if you've even been linked to him. Yeah, it's not too bad.
Kind of Rashford like that, isn't it?
And who else did we? What we have Sesko, and Jonathan David. We've been linked to David's. Let's see. Jonathan David Lille. Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah, so that's very, very similar to Gyökeres, obviously. With so it looks like he does a lot of hold-up play.
Mm.
A lot of hold-up play, and he's definitely got his area in the box there.
I have to say, Beth, I'm just actually turns my mind around. Maybe we should just try to go for the cheapest solution, Jonathan David. Get him on the free.
I don't think he's going to be cheap. Like,
I don't know what
do you
we're
not
talking
think
about. Maybe 10 million sign on and 200k a week.
I don't know. Do you not think how much would his market value be? Would it be 40 or 50 million if he had 2 years on his contract? He's going to be asking for that. This is the new sort of meta in football, is to run your contract down, have a release clause, and then you and your agent make a healthy signing. I know that we won't be paying the club much money for him, but I would expect, especially going into a home World Cup in Canada for Jonathan David, he will be looking to explode. He will be one of the faces of the World Cup. It's not just America, it's Canada and Mexico as well. I genuinely think that this guy would be asking for 30 to 40 million euros in commissions and signing ons. And I'm just not. I think basically he'll cost you the same as Mateta and Delap will. They'll all come to about 60 million with the money that you have to pay and so on. So it's up for you. It's up to you if you like those. Personally, I just get Mateta because I know what he is and I know what he can do.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Mateta. Yeah, but you don't have the presence in the box, though. Especially on the side in the 18-yard box.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, sure with that. But the thing is that when we signed Zirkzee, this is what I was kind of expecting from Zirkzee as a heat map. I thought that Zirkzee was going to be the table in third man combinations, and it was about releasing Rashford and Garnacho and, if you're feeling generous, Anthony, into the box. I think that having a player like Mateta who can chip in with goals and hold the ball up would allow us to get the team more forward and have more semblance of control. Someone like Gyökeres, this is sort of much more chaotic, and it's probably more in keeping with our culture of sort of fast, dynamic football. I think that Mateta gives you stability and a platform for other players to perform. And at the moment, I'm okay with that. It's not what you should really want in a striker. But I think that the ability to sort of relieve pressure, to get us up the pitch, to allow us to sustain attacks and then to contribute to those attacks is something that is very different to the rest of them in that regard. And I would actually be looking more for that kind of player at the moment, because we can't play out from the back.
And he's Premier League proven, so at least we know what we're getting. So yeah, but I just want to say, Batham, to wrap this heat map thing up. I was watching Jonathan David play for Lyon against Monaco, and there was another guy who caught my eye, and that was that Mika Biret. Let's see if we can get him.
Is this
that
the guy you sent me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you see, he's more of a in the box striker again.
Yeah.
So
there's nothing wrong with that, to be honest. Because on these heat maps and things, you obviously can't see the runs that they're making. But what that suggests to me is that once again that there's a number 10 or a playmaker, and he's running beyond them. And I would love to see someone in our team that turns defenses. So it's not just played all nice in front and easy to defend. That there's someone constantly running in. That's what I want from my number 10. So I wouldn't be I wouldn't be adverse to having like a kind of a penetration striker like an Inzaghi or an Owen or someone, or a Vardy who's running in behind. And if he's got like good fundamentals in terms of his finishing, and he can score 1 out of 2, 1 out of 3 goals, I'd have nothing against a profile like this being in the squad, because I think that they're very, very useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see Sir a lot. Yeah, I like Solet. He scored 4 goals yesterday, 3 goals in 6 minutes or something. So yeah, he's a good striker, but I think he's more of a physical striker. Maybe the Premier League will suit him, but he had a spell when he played for Crystal Palace, and I think he had like 10, 12 games with 0 goals. So some players just doesn't fit the Premier League, and I think it's one of those.
I think if you take a player from Italy or Spain that rely on their physicality, you've got to be sure. Like, look at Paul Pogba, what he could do in Italy compared to what he could do in England.
But this is the same dilemma when it comes to Gyökeres.
Well, yeah, he has played in England though. Like, so he knows the Championship, which we might be in soon. But like, playing at Brighton. It won't be a surprise for him. And also the other thing is that the Champions League is like the highest standard of football that we have, and he's performed well there. It's just, is he going to be able to do it week in, week out in the Premier League is the issue, because we've got to stop relying on cups. I know it's great to win a cup, but we've got to get up the league. And we've got to build a foundation of a team to be able to challenge for the league. If you're selling Bruno to buy Gyökeres, you've got to be sure that Gyökeres can do it week in, week out. And I'm not convinced.
No, neither am I. But I feel that he's our best bet in a way, because he knows Amarim. That's my only hope, And
you could have made that
Amarim
argument
gets his
for Anthony.
I just want Amarim to get his signings.
And the way Anthony did with Ten Hag?
Yeah, in a way, because then you see what the manager is all about, If they get their signings and don't succeed, maybe it's on the manager. But Anthony signing, that's a tough one. I don't know what happened with him.
Well, it's bizarre, because there is a player there, and whatever we say about Anthony and stuff, he's performing at the same level as Rafinha and Vinny Jr. in that league. Make no doubts about it. It's absolutely crazy. Like, I love Scott McTominay more than most United fans, but like, Scott McTominay is one of the best goal-scoring midfielders in the world at the moment. It's like, it just feels like it doesn't seem to be working out for players, and I really hope Amarim is the man that can address this.
Yeah. But if it was up to me, I said it to Stu many a times. If we're going to sign anyone, I would like us to sign Jarrod Bowen as a striker, because I feel he's
striker.
Yeah, as a striker.
I like Jarrod Bowen. I like Danny Dyer, his father-in-law, and his wife. Do you know who Danny Dyer is?
No, I don't.
He's an English actor that's like really famous, and his daughter is also called Danny Dyer, and she was on Love Island, and I think she's married.
Danny Dyer, that's his name. I just have to Google him.
Yeah, I mean, like, but Bowen's a good player, and so the one I really wanted was Michael Elise. Last year, I was really excited about Michael Elise, but I mean, I think really what we need to do is we need to get a competent goalkeeper in and a competent striker, and we might be able to get a better picture around players like Ugarte and Dorgu and De Ligt and things when there's a sort of functioning spine to the team. Because at the moment, it's just so... It's like, what can you do with that goalkeeper? And what can you do with that with Rasmus up front? Like, it's only Bruno that is really able to do anything. But imagine if we had someone who could hold the ball up and someone who could catch the football. We'd be in a completely different position to how we are now. So I'm willing to give like Amarim until he gets those two things in. Like, he's all right with me. I'm not throwing my toys out of the pram.
But I feel some of the fans are losing the patience with Amarim, and it's not because of Amarim per se. It's about the way he plays football, and they don't believe in the 3-4-3. Peter Alien Tenno comes in hard against him, and I see other people, especially when I do shows with Noradin on United Real Therapy, they have lost their complete faith in Amarim and his system. So
it's completely understandable, because we're in
it is
17th, 18th. It's the worst team that people will have seen in their lifetime. And we're doing all right in cups, but we haven't won for coming up to 3 months or something in the league. The football is dire. It's damn dire.
The last win was the 26th of March at home. No, was it February? 26th of February at home against Leicester or Ipswich,
Yes.
3-2. That's our last win in the Premier League. So it's been months.
So I completely understand people that want Amarim out and all this kind of stuff, because we have to look next season. Our first target is not to get relegated.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
we've got a 40-year-old manager, which is a baby in terms of of football. Does he have the experience to get us through this? Does he understand the league? Does he understand the culture of Manchester United? If you are Amarim out, I have no arguments against that. But it's just, for me, I think that the circumstances are, it's a new system. He's got no money and he's got poor players. This is kind of what I expected from, not this bad, but I did expect us to finish mid-table, 12th or something, because we never replaced the goals in McTominay. It was 15 goals we were leaving on the table.
I wanted Andoni Iraola as our next manager, him or Michel from Girona, but Amarim, he comes with an hype, and he's excellent with the media, and he's a spokesperson for Man United in a way. Makes way too many interviews for my liking, but it is what it is. Rosmana comes in and say goals change games. We need a clinical top striker, and I think we all agree when it comes to that. Agile Beast comes in and say home win, that was Ipswich in February, and away win in March. So talking about months. And
is that from December? Because. Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
It's a terrible state to be in, and I don't think we won't. Or my question is, do you think we can reset in the summer? Get our confidence back?
Yes, I do, but I don't think we will. I think that the pre-season is absolutely vital, because I can remember Amarim made a comment about Deleuze, maybe 2 or 3 games in, and he said that Deleuze needs to understand he can't be here, he's got to hold his position. And I know Deleuze's not a popular player, but he's one of the few players in the last 2 months that started to produce numbers on the pitch in terms of goals and assists. And it's taken Deleuze, who I think is a proper professional, quite a long time to learn the intricacies of this system.
But you can say the same with Garnacho in a way.
Yeah. Garnacho carries our complete thrust, and he's even spoken recently about his difficulties understanding the system. I think that the pre-season is so important for that. It's like sort of going and doing a driving test without any driving lessons in a different country. You're on the other side of the road. You've got, there's nothing there.
You don't know the signs. You don't know the language.
Yeah, exactly.
What the hell is going on?
The radio is is playing the wrong music. It's all, but and so I think that if there's a proper concentrated professional pre-season, there's a chance that things can click. But because it's Manchester United, we're going to be going to the Far East with probably Rashford, Sancho, and Anthony in the squad a couple of days after the season finishes. We won't get the players in on time for the pre-season. We're then off to the United States to mess about there. A player will probably get arrested for something. God knows what. They won't let Rasmus in. They'll say it's fraud that he's got footballer on his passport, and things like this. But if we
can send in Højlund first as a decoy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at like something like Luis Suarez, when he moved to Liverpool, he took them up like so many levels. It's possible that we could do it through signings, but I think what we've actually got to do is focus on looking at who in the youth can contribute, who needs to be loaned out, what are the key positions to strengthen, and working hard on the system and committing. Like that, I think the top we can get next season is 8th, in my opinion. I don't think we can break past all those teams, Villa, Forest, Chelsea, etc. But getting 8th next season, I think now, I can't believe I'm saying this. Now that would be a successful season to get 8th next year. And I think that that's what we've got to kind of focus on. So I think that there is hope for Amarim. But I also believe that if nothing has changed by Christmas, it might be worth considering a change and going back to a more traditional 4-3-3 variation.
Yeah. From a tactical point of view, I think that's because it demands a lot of the recruitment this summer to get the right players in. But then again, we will be in turmoil because we will have all these 3-4-3 players, and we will try to revert back to a 4-3-3, and I think that will be difficult because I think we will be left without wingers in a way. So
what also worries me, Jarvis, is Xabi Alonso at Real Madrid and Inter making their second Champions League final in 3 or 4 years. I'm assuming they're going to be playing 3-4-3 variations, and that means that we're now that in our formation we're competing against the real beast in the world at Real Madrid. And if this works, they're going to pick our best players straight out from us. Like we're constantly going to be competing with Inter and Real Madrid, basically for Bayer Leverkusen and Sporting players. And it does. Xabi Alonso, if he moves to 3-4-3, it does worry me that the best wing back is going to end up at Real Madrid. Frimpong, if he's good, we'll get there. We won't get him. Like,
isn't Atalanta playing a 3-4-3 and the same?
Yeah, but I mean, like,
well, more a 3-5-2 formation, but to be honest.
Well, yeah, but it's like Inter are the top dog there, aren't they? They're not going to win the league. Like Naples are going to win the league, but like because of their pedigree in Europe. Like now, if you want to win the European Cup, Inter's not a bad place to go to. If you want to win the European Cup, Real Madrid is the place to go to. And if they're both using the same formations that we do, I think that limits our ability to recruit top talent because they're going to go in for them first.
Yeah. A lot of good comments coming in. I'm sorry I can't address all of them. I just have to say we've been live now for 3 hours and 17 minutes. I don't know how many likes we're on, but about 45 to 50. I don't know if my YouTube is updated. So I think I have to wrap it up now. Sure. It's been a really good, interesting debate. I'm glad you came on that time. For those of you who didn't catch the beginning of the show, we did a match reaction. We analyzed a lot of footage. It's good to see people tuning in. We are 168 people watching, 140 people on X, and 32 on YouTube. So it's been a good show. I will end with this. I will give you a question, bad time, hot take. If we win Europe, we toast next season. Amarim won't have time to implement his philosophy. Yeah, quick take.
No, like I don't agree. I don't think it makes a difference or not if he has time to implement his philosophy. Winning the Europa League doesn't change how much time he has or doesn't have. It gives him more money. So I don't agree, but I understand.
Noradin, United Real Therapy, has this take. He would rather us only playing Premier League next season to have time to train, drill, practice, and play one game a week, predictable football. So I see that point, but it is what it is. Peter Alien 10 sends me in WhatsApp. He say Amarim is not Premier League level. It's that simple. Pick up, Peter. Thank you.
It's using the backbone. It's straight through.
It's going straight through to the top. I get what you're saying, Peter. I get what you're saying, but I want to give him more time. That's my personal take. Thank you, everybody. Danny Beaches, lads, Rosmano, Genghis Khan, all of you legends. Thank you for sticking by this 3 hours and 19 minutes. It's been a massive show. It's been the longest show ever on Tactical Devils. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you haven't, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and smash the like. And thank you, Bad Time, for coming on. Do you want to tell the viewers about your channel? Man United Agenda.
I work for Manchester United Agenda with my friends Mr. B and Amonde. We're basically on at the same time as Rich and Jarvis. Like, come and check us out if you want, but like we're all one big like footballing family. So if you feel your place is like with Jarvis or with Rich, you stay at home. The world's a scary place. Don't come and,
I'm not going live every
to
night. I
us.
only do the match reactions, maybe previews, and the regular Monday night show. So they most likely just get 3 shows from this channel a week, but that's my limit. I have family, kids, business, a lot of things to attend to. So, but sometimes if I have extra hour or 2, I jump on other channels, and hopefully I can jump on the agenda one time.
You're always
That would be
welcome,
great.
Jarvis. Just let me
Thank
know.
you. Thank you. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. Smash the like, subscribe if you're new, leave a comment in the non-live sections after the show. It always helps out the algorithms. And I hope you enjoyed the show. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one. Have a good night. Bye-bye.